Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of Best Boys, a podcast about movies. I am your host, Jurassic Mark, and with me are some of my best friends in the whole wide world. Gentlemen, why don't you introduce yourselves?
Hey, everybody, I'm JARSOFJAMS. I do stuff on YouTube, and I'm friends with this loser, and I'm not very good at movies, so this is going to be interesting.
Hell yeah.
All right, and I'm Chris Costello. I'm also a good friend of this loser, and I attempt to animate things and make cartoons and other very mature adult things.
Where can everybody find you guys?
Yeah.
You can find me at JARSOFJAMS on YouTube, or JARSOFJAMS on Instagram, or Vero, or Twitter. The only place that you can't find me as JARSOFJAMS is Facebook, where you can find me as JARSOFJAMS Show. Because believe it or not, there's actually a Facebook page called JARSOFJAMS that actually sells jam.
I was going to ask, is it actually is it a jam startup?
Yeah,
I can believe that.
That's pretty good. That sounds like a mid-90s Japanese developer. Like, oh yeah, that was my favorite Jet Set Radio sequel. You know, Jam Startup made it.
there you go.
You know?
Yeah.
And Chris, what about you? Where can everybody find you? Check out the cool animation stuff you're doing over on the West Coast.
You can find me either at Twitter at Chris_Costi, or you can just go to my website, which is chrismcostello.com.
Fantastic. Definitely follow these two guys. They're putting out some really, really cool content.
Or you can find us at links below, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes, there will be those. Yeah, those will be there.
Gentlemen.
Those will be there. Just like a real podcast. Real podcast for real boys. So
Like professionals.
For
Yeah.
best boys, if you will.
believe it or not, best boys. Yes. We're
Only the best.
we're gonna get things started. I mean, considering this is kind of the inaugural episode, things are going to be a little loose. We're gonna kind of find our structure as we go along. But I figured we could start things off by talking about some of the trailers we got in February, because this podcast, it's going to work as sort of a retrospective. Each episode is going to come out at the end of the month, and we're going to be kind of looking back on all the stuff that we saw and experienced in the wonderful world of movies over the past month or so. So we got a lot of trailers in February, especially with the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, the big game. I think Red Letter Media already made that joke, but hey, what haven't I stolen from them at this point? Oh God, is everybody alive? Were there survivors?
Oh, everybody's dead.
Rip in peace. You never know what's going to happen.
Ripping Pepsi.
You never know what's going to happen with the Best Boys podcast.
All right.
Yeah, I think you should call this episode not Pilot, but Mulligan. Just get it out of the way.
Oh, that's strong. That's fucking good.
Shit.
God damn.
That way
You know-
nobody can blame us for this.
We know exactly what we're putting out.
Exactly.
We know what we're doing. I know what I'm about, son. We know what
This
we're
is
doing.
episode 1. We're at the grace of like a flamingo just learning to walk.
It's beautiful.
Oh God, episode 1 of Best Boys. Best Boys with some of my best buddies. You might say best friends.
I have a good story for you. A familiar story. One guy meet another in a big city. They have dream, but something changed. Greed, hatred, and jealousy. You understand the words?
Yes, that is the riveting startup to the latest film from Mr. Tommy Wiseau, Best Friends, but the R is in brackets, so it could also be called Best Fiends, which, I'm gonna be real, that's a strong title.
It's pretty
I'm
good.
down. I'm down.
Right.
I'm down with that. I have no idea what this is going to be about.
Me neither. I'm going in blind intentionally.
Yeah, like watching the trailer, it's like it's Tommy Wiseau and it's Greg Sestero, and the trailer's playing up a lot of how they're back. the Room is back after 15 years. It's back, and I think they might be like robbers or something. I mean,
Yeah, I've only seen a teaser. I've only seen them like stealing an ATM and getting like introspective about the nature of friendship. So I can only assume it's going to be great.
it's like, that's the funny thing. It actually doesn't look bad. Like I know Tommy Wiseau put out like a sitcom or something a couple years back,
Yeah.
and you looked at that, and it was what you expected when you hear Tommy Wiseau sitcom. Like it looked rough.
But there's a genuine cinematographer here. Like
Yeah.
I can't speak for the rest of it, but like whoever's behind the camera knows what they're doing.
Like this actually looks like a movie,
It
Yeah.
looks professional rather than just whatever the hell the room was.
and I honestly kind of like that because I feel like it would be super easy for Tommy Wiseau to be like, "Oh, everyone loved The Room. Everyone find it so funny. I'm going to make another bad funny movie," and it just like fucking crashes and burns on a quest for money.
No, part of what makes it funny, part of what makes The Room funny, and part of what makes it enjoyable is how much like genuine heart and
Exactly.
like attempt there was in it.
Yeah.
Like if he had set out to make a bad movie, it wouldn't be
Yeah,
as good. But because he tried so hard, that's what makes it great.
I feel like what like worst case scenario for this movie is we go in and he knows full on he's making another bad movie, and every 5 seconds after Tommy Wiseau makes a joke, he just kind of looks at the camera and smirks at it.
Yeah.
Get it?
Yes, but if he
Yeah.
genuinely thinks that that's a joke that should be in the movie and would be great and would go over well and wants to look at the camera, I'm totally fine with it.
I am fine with this. I'm going to pay to see the movie either way.
Yeah,
This looks like there's actual effort going into it to make it its own thing.
It's so weird looking because like one, it looks nothing like The Room.
yes.
Like conceptually and cinematically,
Yeah.
but also like there's this part in at the end of the trailer where like Greg Sestero's hanging out in a room and someone opens a door and it's really dramatically shot, and the whole time I was watching it I was like, oh, please don't open it, and it's Tommy Wiseau standing there and he's like, oh, hi Mark, and then there's a like smash to black. Like I really hope they don't do that. And the door opened and it's just some dude that hasn't been in the trailer at any point. It's just Guy is there. And I was like, oh my god, I really want to watch this. Why does this actually look like interesting? Like
It's a scary thing to think about.
Tommy Wiseau is a miracle. Like the fact that he is surviving, as not even just surviving, the fact that he is thriving the way that he is like, that's the stuff of legend right there.
Just the mythos of being unable to find out where this man came from, which has to be at least somewhat intentional on his part.
Oh yeah, no, he knows how to market himself.
Yeah.
Tommy Wiseau isn't actually a person. He's just some kind of Greek myth come to life.
He's an idea.
He's
He's a feeling, like happiness.
He's that movie from the 70s where Hercules just shows up in New York out of nowhere.
You mean Hercules in New York?
Yes, that's the one. That's the one.
The one with Hercules in New York. Hercules in New York.
Yeah, you got it in one.
beautiful.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
he's
God.
just like a legend that just popped up one day with a really, honestly, not that interesting excuse for why he was there, probably.
A big Smurf portal like threw him into New York City. He came out of a manhole cover. He's like, "Whoa, what is this magical world? They're driving yellow dragons all over. Whoa!"
You're joking, but I could genuinely believe that he's related to Gargamel in some fashion.
Right? Oh God! Like, you have heard the conspiracy theory that Tommy Wiseau is actually D.B. Cooper, right?
No, but also that's amazing.
Yeah.
No.
Hi guys, welcome to Best Boys, the #1 Tommy Wiseau podcast.
We're going to talk about D.B. Cooper on this episode. If anybody doesn't know the story of D.B. Cooper, it's actually fucking amazing. It was back in, I want to say, the 70s. This dude in a suit with sunglasses and a briefcase walked onto a plane, and the plane got up in the air.
Shit, I know what this is.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
he passed
yeah,
a
yeah.
note to the stewardess that was like, hey, I have a bomb. Comply with my demands. So they landed the plane. He allowed everybody to get off except for like basic flight crew. And he was like, okay, now I need you to bring me a parachute and all of my money. And they brought all the money in a briefcase and they gave him the parachute. And he was like, all right, take off, fly in this direction. And apparently the whole time, reports say, like the whole time he was very nice and polite. He's like, I hope, just know it's nothing personal. I'm sorry you got roped into this. And then he just opened the fucking door and hopped out with the parachute and no one ever saw him again. And there's a conspiracy theory that whenever anybody's like, hey Tommy, where do you get your money? It's like, oh, USA Fashions. It's like, No, he got that because he embezzled millions of dollars out of police and then jumped out of an airplane.
That's incredible.
Isn't it, though?
I actually refuse to believe that.
Reality is malleable, and I'm deciding that's the truth.
If you look up the police sketch of DB Cooper, it's like the only difference is Tommy Wiseau's got like a shovel jaw, but like if you look at a picture, the police sketch of DB Cooper, and imagine him like 30 years later with some rough, intensive plastic surgery, it might be. You could buy it.
I can buy it. I have one question. What? I have never heard the term shovel jaw before.
Shovel chin Kevin stole their jawbreakers.
Like a spade? Like what?
No, Tommy Wiseau, to quote Littlefinger, he's got a jaw like an anvil. He's got a big, like, fucked up injected fix-a-flat into his neck jaw. Whereas with the police sketch of DB Cooper, he looks like a balloon where not all the air is out of it yet. Like,
only the most supreme descriptive terms are you going to use on this podcast,
right?
All right. Should we keep right on moving along?
Let's move right along.
Yeah.
Let's move right on along. Now that we've spent a good 10 minutes talking about Tommy Wiseau's jawline, we also got Venom. We got the first trailer for Sony's standalone Venom movie. Shock! It looks really, really cheap, and Venom doesn't even show up.
Perfect.
Oh yeah, I have a complete belief that this is going to function exactly like how it's called Venom, but it's going to be about Eddie Brock, kind of like how Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory is actually about Charlie in the Chocolate Factory.
Oh my god! I saw a thing saying, like, imagine if this trailer is indicative of the real movie, and the whole thing is about Eddie Brock being Eddie Brock running away from the Life Foundation, and then he only becomes Venom at the end.
I can see it though. That's the worst part.
Like, imagine that it's just a shitty Bourne movie. Oh my god! Like, it's like, I don't know about this one because I know Avi Arad has been trying to get a Venom movie made literally since like 2006. Like, he's been pushing for Venom for some reason, and it's like, I like Venom.
Sure.
Venom standalone can work. I love Venom. He's one of my favorite Spider-Man villains.
Mm-hmm.
You need Spider-Man, though.
Yeah. Like, I feel best case scenario with this is either they somehow worked out a deal that they have managed to not have leak out at all. Spider-Man actually does show up. In which case, that will be the only thing that anybody talks about the movie is that Spider-Man shows up in it.
Yeah.
Or they play it Teen Titans route where they just allude to the idea of Spider-Man. Like how whenever they talk about Robin and he's like, I already have someone I care about. And then you just hear like a couple stings of like the Batman the Animated Series theme and you see bats fly everywhere and you're like, you get it.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tommy Wiseau looks at the camera. You get it?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, hi, Parker.
Those are the only two ways I can see that movie shaking out.
God, you really could just Photoshop the Venom symbiote onto Tommy Wiseau and the whole "you're tearing me apart" scene,
That would be.
No, don't make me do that.
banging into a church bell. We don't need anyone. Not Mary Jane. Not Uncle Ben.
Well, he does have like a pantomime during that scene where he's like kind of like ripping at nothing, like kind of his clothes, but he like lets go. I could totally just pop that thing into Toon Boom and then draw some like fucking black lines.
That'll be
over
the thumbnail for this episode. It'll be Tommy Wiseau ripping the Venom symbiote off himself.
Expect it on my desk by
Okay.
Tuesday morning. Let's go.
Parker. Oh god, yeah, no, like that's the thing. I have a few theories about this Venom movie. I feel like because are you familiar with all of the internal studio politics with Sony and the Spider-Man rights?
I am aware that they exist and that they're with politics.
Yeah.
I know that they're a thing, but you're probably good to go into a brief like explanation.
Yeah. Did you happen to see the those leaked Sony staff emails?
Oh yeah.
The really painful ones. Yeah, where basically when the interview came out, North Korea hacked Sony, and everybody got to have a good laugh because we were able to see how their executives function. And we had a lot of really great ideas, like what if Spider-Man did a Tough Mudder, and he put it on his Snapchat?
What if he did parkour?
What if he did parkour at a Tough Mudder while listening to EDM music, and then he Snapchatted it with the hashtag NBD, because of course for Spider-Man everything is hashtag NBD. And also he could be like a garage DJ because kids are very much into the EDM.
Oh my god.
It was so genuinely tone deaf, and like, how do you do, fellow kids? Like,
Yes, no,
Jesus.
it was the epitome of that picture of Steve Buscemi, like music band T-shirt, like what's good, my fellow children. Like it was rough, and then you had some other ideas that were great.
He's hip. He's in your face consistently and thoroughly.
You've heard the phrase "let's get busy." Well, this is a Spider-Man who gets busy.
Yes.
Oh God, no! It was like you had some ideas where it was like, well, we've got Tugboat on retainer. What if we had Andrew Garfield versus Tobey Maguire and did a Spider-Verse movie? And then they had other ideas where they're like, Amy Pascal really wants an all-female superhero movie. So what if we get Black Cat and team her up with Silver Sable and we call it Black and Silver? And like these are two characters that have never really interacted in the comics, but they're both girls who know Spider-Man. So that's good enough, right?
Yeah, totally.
What if we did a movie where like Aunt May is like she's young, like it's a prequel, and she was like a SHIELD agent, but we can't call it SHIELD, so she'll be like FBI, but it's Aunt May. And what like DC is putting out Suicide Squad. There's a lot of groundswell about their villain movie. That's a
I
ripoff
feel like
of
there's a
Guardians.
missing email at the beginning of this that started with the words in all bold lettering. Just there are no wrong ideas.
Yeah,
That was incredibly regretted throughout the next couple emails.
Oh boy, like they were gonna put out a Sinister Six movie that was literally just Suicide Squad but with Spider-Man villains. And it was a mess, and you could sort of see the remnants of this if you watch Amazing Spider-Man 2. It's a bad time, but basically, before they went on and rebooted the Spider-Man franchise, they went to Marvel because Marvel was building their war chest with the MCU, and Sony was basically like, "Hey, we know you want Spider-Man because of course you do. So we're willing to sell you the rights." And Marvel was like, okay, how much? And Sony went, $4 billion. Which that's what Marvel said. Which incidentally is how much they paid for all of Lucasfilm.
Yeah, no.
And yeah, no, Spider-Man's a moneymaker, but they already got Iron Man. Like they built him up, they're not hurting for Spider-Man as badly as they once were. So
I enjoy Spider-Man. He was like one of my favorite superheroes. I don't think Spider-Man is as good as all of Star Wars as a property to buy.
Doesn't work like that.
Yeah, and basically, like, that's the thing, is basically Marvel decided they weren't having any of it, any of Sony's BS, so they decided, okay, well, we're going to just go ahead and keep making our Avengers movies, and you can come back when the price is a little bit more reasonable. And 2 Garfield movies later, Marvel comes up and is like, hey, guys.
How's it going?
So
The tale of 2 kitties later.
how's everything going? Looks like you're having a real shit time of it. Let's talk. What if we rent Spider-Man from you, along with like a couple villains and his side cast, and we will sign him on for 4 movies, which you get a flat fee, and you could also put your studio on it. You get like a production credit. And they made Homecoming. He was in Civil War. He's going to be in Infinity War, which, you know what? Screw it. Let's talk about that next. And then presumably there's going to be a Spider-Man sequel in the MCU. And this has worked out great. So this is where the conspiracy theory comes in. I think this Venom movie is not unlike the Fantastic reboot. I think this is an attempt to extort money from Marvel Studios. It basically saying, hey guys, you're just about to get to Thanos and blow that Infinity load you've had brewing for the past decade. Venom would be a real good villain to introduce to keep people's interest. Shame that we're making him.
It'd be really, really shame if we kept Venom and we just dragged everything about him through the mud for like 2 movies until we throw him away.
Yeah, what's that? You're making a movie where Spider-Man's going to space? Oh, I wonder if he has any space villains. Oh, Tom Hardy.
Hey.
You want to make some bucks? Like, and then this is the supplementary conspiracy theory is now with the whole Disney Fox deal. Someone was asking him like, "Oh, would you consider doing R-rated movies? Like, does this mean we're not getting another Logan or Deadpool movie now that you own Fox?" And they basically said like, "Well, our concern with that was that basically they didn't want people thinking like, oh, this is a fun Marvel movie. I'll take my kid and walking into
Mhm.
Deadpool." But like Fox kind of already did that for them,
Fox took the brunt of that.
so they're looking at
Yes.
it like, yeah, Fox took the bullet for them, and it paid off immensely. So now their attitude is basically, well, now people know what they're getting into. They know that
Mhm.
Deadpool is not, Spider-Man, Avengers. I can bring my kid to this. So it sounds like they're already working. They've already worked with Sony on stuff like this in the past. They're open to endorsing R-rated stuff on the big screen rather than just on Netflix.
Mhm.
I would not be shocked if Tom Holland showed up in
I'd be
Venom,
pretty down.
even if it's in like a flashback or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't exactly have high hopes for that movie. I'll probably see it because I'm a consumer sheep,
Mhm.
and it's a Spidey Man type movie, but uh, yeah, not exactly excited for it.
Yeah. And I also think that if they do that, they're absolutely shooting themselves in the foot because people will immediately stop caring about the whole of the movie sans the part where Tom Holland shows up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like that's how Sony do. That's how they do business. It is an anomaly of a company, and
Right.
it's a
Mhm.
miracle the Emoji Movie did as well as it did.
It's
You have a hole in your foot. Yeah, but I'm still going home, so who won?
Yeah.
some black magic afoot there. All right, before we move on to Infinity War, from both
Yes.
of you, what's your let's say this is a magical moment where it turns out that this is just Marvel buying Venom. Like for after this, Venom is included in Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yes.
What's your perfect way of going about that? How does that turn out in your dream world?
Oh man, see, I was gonna make a video essay about this, so I don't know how deep I want to get into it. I'll keep it super super brief, because the idea being is that Homecoming was like a metaphor for Spider-Man coming into his own, and the whole overarching metaphor was the suit, where it's like, oh, Tony Stark is trying to make him into Iron Boy with the suit. Literally none of the gadgets work the way they're supposed to, and he has to put on his shitty old costume and be his own hero at the end. Venom is literally a costume that wants to exert its will over Spider-Man. So I feel like you could have a really good like coming of age arc using that as an overarching metaphor. So I would do that. I would keep up the trend of Spider-Man
Mask.
yeah, Spider-Man is maturing as a hero and uh ends up finding worth in being friendly neighborhood Spider-Man rather than super cool tough badass Avenger guy.
I like it.
Yeah. What about you, Chris?
Um. Well, now that I just got that amazing answer that you've thought about, let me just toss in my thing. I think one way that I can look at this is just from the meta perspective of, okay, they have 4 movies to do this. They don't necessarily have to do it in the Spider-Man sequel.
Yes.
If they want to toss it in within the Infinity War 2-parter, for some added drama and then deal with the after effects of it with him even still having the suit in the sequel, they could set it up in one of the other movies and then pay it off. But then the problem with that would be that if people are only going, like, if you want to look at these movies as standalone and not like, oh, you have to see all 30 of the Marvelverse movies in order to comprehend what's happening, then that doesn't really work.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was one of the other things I was thinking too. Is uh, I feel like it would be in the Infinity War sequel because we'll just transition. We're talking about Infinity War now, and the thing is with Infinity War is the one thing that kind of bugs me with the marketing is they keep going like this is the end. This is the final chapter. It's all led up to this, and it's like.
But we know there's movies after.
Not only that, we know that there's another Infinity movie after. We know this isn't the final Thanos thing. Because they said like in interviews, they're like, oh yeah, this movie's more about Thanos collecting the gems rather than being like the Infinity Gauntlet movie. And it's like, oh, It's like I'm glad I know that going in, because I feel like
Yeah.
I'd be a little disappointed, to be real. But
No,
no,
we're just going to get 5 separate arcs of people failing to stop him from taking the gems. Got it.
Yeah.
But honestly,
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. That's a lot better. Like, the entire fun of the Infinity Gauntlet comic was seeing everybody get their shit pushed in.
Oh, absolutely.
And if we just had one movie where that just doesn't happen, and Thanos just, okay, I got the things, I got the MacGuffins, let's go, and then he loses the fight, that's worthless. That's not a good time.
Yeah.
You built this up for 10 years. Yeah. They built this up for 10 years. He cannot just be one-shot villain.
Mhm.
Like, no. Make it... We know that part 2 is going to be announced, like, proper soon. So, I know they got to get butts in seats, but it's like, come on now. Make sure that people are expecting the proper thing.
Mhm.
But I think
infinite money.
Infinite money.
If Marvel has infinite money, which it's Disney kind of does,
Yeah.
my ideal situation is where there's this movie where it's introducing Thanos as a character, it's really fleshing out the Infinity Gauntlet, he's gathering everything, end of the movie, he gets him. Fuck.
Yeah.
Infinity War Part 2 is everybody just kind of like tying up loose ends to get every character that needs to be in this movie into the movie. A lot of build up to the climactic fight. Make this giant final action sequence fucking huge. Like, it could be the third act of the movie.
Yes.
And then it ends with him killing everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that can fade to black. Cut.
And then in comes
Hard
Adam
cut.
Warlock.
Comes Adam Warlock.
That's the thing. This one, what I wanted, what I and I know a lot of other people want for Infinity War specifically is for the very end of the movie, because there's going to be a big fight, and it's probably going to be in Wakanda or whatever, and they have a big fight, and he gets all the gems, and he puts them in the gauntlet, and he snaps his fingers, and that's the end of the movie.
Perfect.
That's the end of the movie.
Sure.
And then I think in the next one, that'd be a great opportunity if they wanted to put Venom in, if that's what their long con is if they've been working behind the scenes with Sony this whole time. It's like, all right, have him wearing the little iron spider suit, have that get fucked up real bad, and then when they go to space, he needs a new costume, but he's in space, and he comes across the symbiote. And it's like, bam.
Done.
You've sold people on your property.
Mm-hmm.
Because people will take, a Sony Venomverse or whatever seriously if it's in Infinity War. Like,
Yes.
Sony needs to accept where they are in the food chain and kiss the ring a little bit, or in this case, the gauntlet.
Yeah, because there literally isn't a single thing that they're going to be that's going to hold up to anything that that's in the MCU at this point. Even if it's a great movie on its own, it's not going to stand up as well because it's not going to have that staying power of having all these different connected things that you can now, hey, let's throw Spider-Man into this and make $1 million because he's in there. Like,
Yeah.
I think
you don't have that.
If Sony came at it with their limited Marvel properties in the way of like actual comics, like how you have like little 4-issue runs of just really good, succinct stories that aren't part of the main thing, but they are just like a cool little like what if thing. They could make so much bank with that if they did like a Logan thing where it's just like a what if scenario. It's a really strong concept and it's not necessarily related to the rest of the movies. It could be, it couldn't be.
Stuff like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Which is not trying to be a cinematic universe type thing. It is a cool looking animated film about an alternate Spider-Man. And it's like, awesome. Sony should do
Everybody's hyped for that.
Everybody, not a single person has a bad thing to say about it because it looks awesome. And it's got Lord and Miller on it, right?
I believe so, yeah. I'll do some quick Googling.
Which, well, you look at that. Speaking of Lord and Miller, let's transition to another Disney blockbuster coming out.
Yes.
We have...
yes. It is by...
Is Lord and Miller?
It is Lord Miller, and also Gravity Falls is Alex Hirsch.
Oh! That seems...
Which just adds to my joy for that one.
That seems like a really good match. For a good animated Miles Morales adventure. That seems like it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I feel like those three work well together.
Yeah. And that's the thing, who doesn't work well together? Phil Lord and Chris Miller and Lucasfilm, unfortunately. But you know who does work together well? Lucasfilm and Ron Howard. Because we've got, during the big game, we got a trailer for Solo, a Star Wars story. And I think this just about sums it up.
Are you looking forward to watching a Han Solo movie as a fan?
Not really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I am
God.
really hyped for every part of that movie that has nothing to do with Han Solo.
Get me a Lando cut, and that's
Honestly, yeah, if you can just take out all of the Lando bits, I guarantee they're going to be great and just
Be a
sell
better
that
movie.
wholesale.
they're gonna be good. Oh God, what was? Oh yeah, that's what it was. Chris, I sent you a thing a while ago where it was someone like making up like, oh, watch, this will be a scene in the movie, and it's like
Yeah,
for some reason Han Solo ends up like talking to Obi-Wan, who is played by Ewan McGregor, to build up hype for the Obi-Wan standalone movie. And like they end up talking to each other at like Mos Eisley, and as he's walking out, Han Solo like bumps into a little kid, is like, hey kid, watch it. And then like an older man comes in and he's like, oh, sorry sir, my nephew Luke Skywalker is a little clumsy, come
His full
on
name's
Luke
him.
Skywalker. And then plays the fucking binary sunset, and the whole time in the theater you just hear, "Oh my god, that's Luke Skywalker! That's Luke Skywalker! That's supposed to be Luke Skywalker!"
The biggest reason that might happen
What is it?
is that the droids have to be in every
Oh
movie.
my god, you're right. Well, wait a minute.
If that's in the timeline with it, then Luke has them right now, which means they have to.
You think it's taking place like right before A New Hope? Is that that's where you're...
Yeah, just because he looks different doesn't mean that they're not doing an immediate fucking...
See, that's the interesting thing, is I find like half the people that I talk to about this movie, half of them, like I fall into the camp of like, oh no, this is like young Han Solo. We're going to see like his first big thing, you know, we're going to see him meeting Chewie and Lando, and it's going to be like, maybe call it like maybe somewhere between 5 and 10 years before New Hope.
Okay.
And then I see some people who are like, nah, they don't fucking care. It's going to end with him sitting at the fucking bar while Chewie goes and talks to an old man at the counter. Like,
That's what I'm saying. It could be either one, and it wouldn't...
it could be both.
Like,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Probably both.
are they going to
Let's
flash
not-
forward? Is that what's
my
going to
thought-
happen?
Yeah, my thought going into that was like, well, they kind of blew their load on the immediate like follow in with Rogue One, because it's beautiful, it's perfect. You can watch Episode 3, you can watch Rogue One, and you can go right into Episode 4, and it's
I did
fucking
really like
beautiful. So to add another Star Wars movie like that's in that time frame, I don't feel like it's gonna fit as well into like, well, you could also watch this movie unless it took place before Rogue One, unless they say fuck it. The main core of the plot is young Han Solo. Like they have his own individual Star Wars story where it's, hey, Han Solo's doing a thing and he's like 20 or something, and then he fucking goes on his adventure. And then he gets one, like, at the end of it, he gets a job to go somewhere and he's got to track somebody down. Or whatever the fuck. Eventually, plot goes to the point where he tracks down fucking, what's his name? Greedo.
Yeah.
And shoots him. And then he looks over, sees the scuffle.
He's gonna take a job from Jabba, who will appear, and he'll be a real puppet because that makes all the difference in the world. And he'll take the job where he ends up dumping his shipment when he sees the Empire.
I could see first
And
two
it'll be
acts
like-
are classic young Han Solo caper, and then the last third is like they got away with it, and they left somebody behind that's out for revenge. They don't really know how to get back to him, but they have like a lead, and then it jumps forward into right before the movie, and that person has finally followed up on that lead, and he deals with it, and then he walks into the cantina.
You know who it's gonna be? It's gonna be Boba Fett. Boba Fett is gonna show up because they need to sell Boba Fett toys. And also Darth Vader will be there because Darth Vader was around at this time.
Would you actually be mad, though? Like, you're already mad going into this movie. Are you going to be more mad if they try to sell toys with good characters?
If it's cool. Like, that was the thing. Like, Rogue One, I was kind of lukewarm on. I was like, yeah, this is fine. And then a lot of people were like, oh, the Darth Vader scene was just fan service. It's like,
Yeah.
but it was cool.
It was a fun
We
time.
haven't seen Darth Vader get pissed off. We haven't seen Darth Vader interact with literally anybody but Luke and the Emperor and his, fleet of cronies.
Like,
this was a scene that may not have been necessary, but it wasn't. At least it wasn't a repeat of shit we've already seen. It was entertaining.
Mhm.
I liked it.
thought on all the Star Wars story stuff is that like when Disney buys Star Wars, they get rid of all the expanded universe shit, which it's a lot
Yeah,
of
they
fluff. Most of it is pretty dumb,
Mhm.
but a lot of it is it's campy and fun. Like, oh no, Emperor Sidious has 50 clones of himself, and he's summoning
he
up
cloned
a
himself.
dark force storm to blow up the Lilat system. Like, fucking, it's really dumb,
Yes.
but it's fun.
It's really dumb. Yeah,
And it's
but you do have cool shit in there too. Like, if I don't see, this is the only thing is I feel like I'm surprised how much Disney is fucking up with this one, because it feels like they're making a real Sony move with this Solo movie, because Disney are masters of marketing, of making their products appeal not only to the common audience,
Mhm.
but like getting the more hardcore fans on their side. Like, that was the whole thing with The Force
It's like
Awakens.
the reverse DreamWorks, where even if it is a bad movie, the trailer looks good.
Yeah,
Whereas DreamWorks is normally, even if the trailer looks terrible, the movie still might be good.
Might
They
be
just have a
good.
really big marketing team.
they have a real bad editing house for that. And like that's the thing. Like, Force Awakens was a very, very safe movie, but it got into everybody's good graces right away when they were like, yeah, remember how the prequels were full of fucking CGI and green screens? We're using real sets. We're going out to fucking the desert. We're gonna make this a proper Star Wars movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of created some goodwill that kind of glossed over some of the flaws that movie had. But with this Solo one, they're handling it with like zero tact. Like, all you would have to do, literally all you would have to do, is say, hey, guess what, guys? We just cast Admiral Thrawn. Or something like that.
Just
It's like,
toss
you
him
remember
to the
Thrawn?
extended universe.
Look, Thrawn is there. If you had Thrawn in there, everybody would be like, okay, well, I'll check it out. You know? And like, they already did that. It was, what the fuck are these two characters' names? It's basically the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern of Star Wars, who came up in the comics, where Ron Howard was like, I really like the comics, so these two guys are in there. And everybody was like, that's fucking cool. And that's literally the only goodwill I've seen this movie get since they dumped Lord and Miller.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I'm not saying whore yourself out and just make it a bunch of references, but look at what you're working with.
Yeah, I'm just still... I'm angry that I feel like they're wasting the potential of like what a Lando movie could have been.
Yeah.
Because like even just like halfway thinking about this guy going from like
we'll get a Lando movie now because
part-time criminal, part-time criminal to like protector of Cloud City. Like that's such a like obvious strong arc that you can work with.
It's a really interesting
but Han Solo.
Yeah, it's a really interesting character progression. And I feel like I'm gonna make a prediction. You can quote me on this. Now that Black Panther has come out and done super well, I think that will be the little push of confidence they need to say, okay, we will be able to sell a standalone Lando movie.
Mm-hmm.
People won't be scared.
I can see it happening. Or the pooch has already been screwed, and that entire character arc for Lando happens in this movie. And Disney
God,
that would be the worst case scenario.
That would be the worst.
They pick Lando up as a thug, and over the course of 30 minutes, he becomes a heartwarming character that's ready to take on a government job.
If they just hint at it in the last one. If they only hint at it in like his last scene of like him doing something good for Cloud City, something like that, then I think they might be able to go with it, because then they can have him like sort of in the job, but like still going back to his old way of doing things in a way that doesn't quite mesh, and he has to learn how to mesh that. That could still be strong, but I feel like it's a very good chance that they just like took the whole arc and screwed it.
It's gonna be something super hacky. Like they're gonna be like, we need to lay low for a while, and it's like, I've got a buddy out in Bespin. It's like, what's the name of the place he runs? So like, Cloud City, and he'll be like, I like the sound of that. And then that's the last we see of him. And it plays like a little bit of the Empire score, so like, oh, that's Cloud City. That's where Lando goes.
That's a reference. That's a reference.
That's Lando. That's Lando. Carbonite. Yes.
Jesus.
God
I'm at
Christ.
least gonna stay optimistic that the majority of the bits that they give to Lando are going to be done well. If
Oh,
not
yeah.
in writing,
I
then
love
at
Donald
least by
Glover.
Donald Glover.
He's gonna do his damnedest with whatever they give him.
Yes.
That he's the only part of this I have any faith in whatsoever.
Mhm.
Donald Glover is best boy.
That's true.
He's gonna do it.
It's like it's such a conundrum because I don't want to see this because I don't want to encourage this kind of business practice. It's such a blatant product. At the same time, I want to see it because I want to see like just how hacky it'll be. But then at the same time, I don't want to see it because I know, having been in the theater for Rogue One and The Last Jedi, I know that there's going to be a lot of like, oh, that's the thing. That's the thing. And there's going to be a bunch of like clapping, and that shit gets to me like nothing else. But we'll see. We'll see when that comes around.
See, I'm always into the like the hokey like experience that people make movies out to be. I'm fine with that when people clap and shit.
It depends. It very, very much depends.
I'm not somebody who will clap, but I'm also not somebody who will be annoyed by the clapping.
You're just a casual
Yeah,
observer.
no, that's fair.
Also, just goes to show how fantastic this casting is. I keep forgetting that Emilia Clarke is in this movie.
Oh yeah.
I right? Exactly. I keep forgetting. I keep seeing pictures and trailers like, oh, fucking Daenerys
I think
Targaryen
because
is in this.
continuity kind of dictates that she has to not be
Oh, she's
around
dead.
by the end.
She's gonna be a spy or dead
Yeah.
or something.
Han Solo knocks her up and leaves her with triplets in some outer rim planet.
Which makes like
Oh god.
it's the one problem with like midquels and prequels is like this person isn't coming back. You know who lives and you know who must die or disappear in some fashion.
He's
Then
gonna
it turns out that she's actually Greedo.
be like, "What's your name?" And she'll be like, "Kenobi, a Star Wars story."
Full name.
That's a little bit strange, don't you think? And she's just staring at the camera, glazed, look over her eyes. Doesn't
He's
say
just
anything.
What a stupid name. And he looks at the camera for a solid 5 minutes.
The credits
just
roll over
slowly-
top of him looking at the camera.
I'm really
One
glad that I
solid
recommended you guys play Doki Doki Literature Club right before this.
He looks right at the screen, and it does a big dolly zoom. And the camera starts shaking a little bit, and posters for Baby Driver start flashing on screen.
I've got the perfect face for it. Type 2. If you just type in solo movie into Google image search, that's the face he's making. That's the face.
Well, now I got it.
God.
You have to.
We should find a way to incorporate that on the thumbnail as well. Oh goodness.
Jesus.
Like, that's the face.
Let's
Is
see.
it not?
There's a multitude of faces and they're all the same. now.
What? This guy needed an acting coach brought on set? Oh no.
Alright.
Oh no.
Moving on. What else we got?
Moving on. Let's see here. What other?
Are we still on trailers? Can we talk about Rampage?
We want to talk about Rampage? Let's talk.
I have one stupid nerdy thing to say about Rampage.
Tell me about Rampage.
Okay, if I can push my glasses up to the bridge of my nose real quick. I'm so mad that they didn't pay attention to the stupid, completely unimportant Rampage lore that the giant rampaging animals are supposed to be mutated humans.
Yeah.
It makes no sense in the dumb 80s way, and I'm still mad that it's not in there.
It bugs me. And then they get knocked out, they shrunk down and they're naked, and then you can pick them up and eat them. Rampage is so
Yeah,
fun.
but like, could you imagine? Because would you know what that means? That means that fucking Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson could have turned into the monster.
People are still speculating that that's what's going to happen.
Better.
People are speculating like the end of the movie is The Rock is going to huff a bunch of fart gas and get huge and fight Ralph and Lizzie. which
I would
I
love
want to say
nothing more than that.
I love going to the toy aisle at my local superstore and seeing all these Rampage toys, and they have ones based off of the old not the cartoon, the video game.
Yes.
Like they have those designs too. But then on the hyper realistic ones, where it's like it's a big angry wolf, code name Ralph. And it is the silliest shit I have ever seen.
They're trying to modernize it, and they did up to like 2002.
This reminds me of like when people would make fun of video game adaptations back in like the early aughts, when they were like, "It's the Tetris movie."
Okay,
In the future, when they're piloting big Tetris blocks, like, and it's like, no, they just went and did it. They just went and did it.
Can I just lay a thing down right here?
Yeah.
In the vein of that, next month I want us all to get together on like Rabbit or something and watch the original Doom movie with Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Oh my god, that movie!
Because Lord, that's a trip, and I want to talk about it.
Where he uses the Bioforce gun.
Please,
Yes.
can we do this?
Yes.
Oh, we're gonna do that when it cuts to just footage of Doom 3.
Oh, that would be beautiful.
It's incredible. It's really good. You know what? The thing that makes me laugh the hardest about these Rampage trailers is the relationship The Rock has with this gorilla, because he's emoting so hard. It's the same level of cheese as like Fate of the Furious that I love so dearly.
Oh wait, do you mean the same exact bond as they had in Jurassic World between Chris Pratt and the Raptor? It's that same thing.
Oh my god! I didn't even realize that. On the bright side, we found our segue, but just every trailer,
You're welcome.
when like just this upset-looking girl, like ho ho ho, and then The Rock comes in all,
What's happening to my friend?
and it's the funniest fucking thing ever.
See, now I just want
He keeps calling him my friend.
I just want Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom trailer, but every single instance of Chris Pratt is replaced
Dwayne The Rock
by
Johnson
Dwayne
and
The Rock
George.
Johnson.
I just want to say before we
Yes.
move on, God damn it, I don't want to see one more, like early video game adaptation of a movie unless Dwayne The Rock Johnson is in.
Yeah.
That just needs to be his
The
niche.
man,
He's found
the
it.
man has a talent for taking dumb bullshit and giving a really earnest performance and making it fun.
Yeah.
Like, if you haven't watched Fate of the Furious, The Rock kicks a
I
motherfucking
have
torpedo into a truck of Russians.
Like,
it is amazing.
We're getting to the point where I don't expect any movie that has Dwayne The Rock Johnson to be in it to be good.
Oh, yeah.
But not because of him. It's just because he is the reason you go to see this movie.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ultimately, I don't even... If they didn't have, like, this character arc with Dwayne and his friend, like, I don't think I would give a fuck about a gorilla beating up a lizard named Lizzie, and there's a giant flying wolf in there.
Yeah, the wolf.
No matter what branding you slapped on it.
That's the thing. Like, the Rock has fully become like '90s Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Mm-hmm.
in that he is just in everything. He's in adult action movies, and he's in like family comedies. He's in everything.
And it also, in the same vein, they're using him the way that studios in the 90s would use Arnold Schwarzenegger, where it was like nothing else about it has to be good because we know he'll do it.
Yeah,
like, we know that he
he's a
can
big,
make it
tough
earnest
guy.
enough that you'll want to see it anyway.
He's a big tough man, and that's his character.
Mm-hmm.
I
And as an actor,
love.
they try hard enough that you're gonna enjoy it just because you see the passion in it anyway.
I love the tone of these trailers, just because it feels like something that came out in like 2003. Like it sounds like something that came out around like the time of like right when the Matrix was dying and right when Underworld was picking up, like that.
Mm-hmm.
The first trailer has "Despite all my rage, I'm still just a rat in a cage." And then you got Jeffrey Dean Morgan in there complimenting the whole thing. Like, just this part right here, just...
Oh, you didn't know about the 30-foot wolf?
That fucking music thing that they throw in there every time.
They're unironically using the Whale Wars music. Like, there's no fucking cynicism to it. And, like...
Part of what I love about it.
I think it's gonna be a stupid fucking time. I'm actually kind of excited for Rampage. I think I'm gonna go into that the same way I go into one of the Fast and the Furious movies. It's not gonna
With a
be a
flask.
good movie. It's gonna be a good time. Yes, with a flask. Oh yes, but transitioning on to Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, we got another trailer for that during the Super Bowl.
Mhm.
Which what did we think about Jurassic World, the first one?
I had a fun time.
I had a good time watching Chris Pratt bro down with some velociraptors.
Yeah, like that.
Honestly, I think a
Yeah.
lot of my apprehension is just like, oh, I'm gonna state a kind of positive opinion about it, like a major franchise on the internet.
No, I feel that because especially Jurassic World, where like shocker, I know it might come as a shock, but I really like Jurassic Park
Yes,
a lot. It's actually my favorite movie.
really,
It
Jurassic
was
Mark.
the movie that, yeah, right. It was the movie that got me interested in movies at the age of like 4, and I can say Jurassic World is a schlocky, big budget action
Mhm.
movie, and I loved
Exactly.
it. It was nowhere near as smart or good as the first one, but it is the best sequel out of the bunch. It is leagues better than Lost World and
It made me
3.
have fun.
Exactly.
Like ultimately, what more do you need? Like, oh
I'd,
shit, there's
I'd like more.
dinosaur, and oh, but the T-Rex wins anyway. Like that's the end of the movie. That's all you need from that movie.
Yeah,
It's
I'd
beautiful.
like more because there was more to the first one, so like the bar has been set, but this one came closer to passing it than any of the others.
Yeah,
And at least it was fun, like unironically.
Mm-hmm.
Lost World is a fun time, ironically, because you're watching Jeff Goldblum try and be an action hero, even though that's not his character.
I'm glad that in this one it seems like they're embracing who Jeff Goldblum is as a person more.
Yeah,
Like he shows up in like the nice suit, just like draped over himself at like a court hearing, and I'm like, okay, this is what Jeff Goldblum is supposed to be playing.
yeah.
This is what
Exactly.
he enjoys and has fun with the most.
And now in this movie, we have our new monster, the Indoraptor.
hold on, I want to see this. I want to see.
I'm also glad that they realized that they couldn't like write the ship in terms of like dinosaur accuracy.
Yeah,
So they were like,
they're
okay,
like,
so mutant
frogs.
dinosaurs. Who would say no to
Frogs.
mutant dinosaurs?
Yeah. I mean, like, looking at the movie, I mean, looking at this trailer, it's one of the annoying things that I feel like a lot of trailers do, where it basically goes over the whole movie.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so volcano that they built this theme park on for some reason that we didn't know was there this whole time, now it's there
Mhm.
again and it's going to blow up. And they're like, okay. The one thing that's kind of interesting is the way that they're looking at it as like, they're kind of following the whole Jurassic World thing of like, oh, these aren't just assets, these are animals. Oh, and it's like, okay, so this is why we're actually going to save them, because we could just let them get all wiped out in the volcanic explosion, but that wouldn't be ethical. So they go and rescue the dinosaurs, and then presumably there's some businessman
Mhm.
with an ulterior motive, and they go back to his house, and it's like, shock, he wants the dinosaurs to make a military dinosaur, and they're going to sell it. And oh, it escaped,
So
and
Lost World?
that's it. And that's
But
the
in
movie.
reverse.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, like in the same way that Jurassic World was Jurassic Park but different, this is going to be Lost World but different. And it's like, okay, I like watching dinosaurs eat
Yeah, I'm
people.
totally
all right.
fine with seeing dinosaurs
They're,
like on the mainland. That's fine. It's gonna be exactly the
Yeah.
dumb like action part
that's
that
it,
I'm
time.
going to sit there and enjoy.
Fucking damn sight better than Dino Men being constructed out of a fucking German castle, which was the original idea for Jurassic Park 4. Look up that concept art. You know what? Incorporate that concept
I
art
remember.
too. Of the derp ass raptor man with his fucking like homunculus overbite.
Oh, could you imagine the kind of like the amount of a turn that the entire series would take from that point on?
Oh no!
Did you look up the Dino Man? Did you look him up?
Oh god!
Hello. Scream.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh, the Triceratops.
Oh,
man.
they all had names. One was named like Zeus or something. Another one was named like Goliath. and like they were a ragtag bunch of dinosaur people that had to learn to work together to run Black Ops missions out of a German science castle.
Also,
And it's like,
if anybody is listening that doesn't know what Mark looks like, it's exactly that. That's why he's Jurassic Mark.
my eyes aren't in front of my head. It's an issue.
Here we go again with my conceptual bullshit. So, like, instead of making that Jurassic Park 4, they should roll with that, make it its own independent story, but make it a fucking horror movie. Like, go full-on, rated R, horrifying bullshit in the Jurassic Park world, where they're playing around with gene splicing with these dinosaurs now. Like, that is a thing that they're doing. And this German science castle, it's like, oh, a bunch of press and scientists get to come to, like, see the unveiling of this dinosaur, this top-secret project. And then they break free.
That could
the best way to
escape the castle with a horrifyingly disfigured
one-off
dinosaur
joke
head.
from Jurassic Park and playing it to the hilt of just like man creates dinosaurs, dinosaurs destroy man.
Yeah.
That's the fucking tagline. That's what, like, there's black text and in silver lettering, that's what plays at the end of the trailer for this movie.
With that thing's face. Wee. No, but I like that you said make it a horror film, because that's one of the things that I'm actually very interested in with Fallen Kingdom. Apparently, the director, which I am not sure, I'm going to Google his name real quick. But
while you're doing that, I also thought that was an interesting idea in terms of that's what they're doing with that one X-Men the one X-Men sequel that's coming out.
yes. Yeah, New Mutants.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting way to take that.
Yeah, this is going to be Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. It's being directed by a guy named J.A. Bayona.
Okay.
Let's see, what else did he make? A lot of stuff I have never heard of. He made The Orphanage, and he also made that movie A Monster Calls, where Liam Neeson is a big tree. Apparently, that's the thing. Like, apparently, especially having done The Orphanage, he's got a lot of experience with horror, and that's kind of the way he's been approaching this film. So I think that'd be pretty interesting, especially because Jurassic World was such like a bright, sunny, like action movie with dinosaurs. Whereas, not to say that the original Jurassic Park was a horror film, but it definitely had a lot of horror elements. You know, and
it was thrilling. It was frightening
Yeah.
at times because, oh shit, that dinosaur's going to eat that child. Oh god.
Yeah, exactly. And that comes through a lot in this trailer. There's the whole bit where the main thing is creeping up on a little girl in her bed, and it's like, ooh, okay, that's where we're going with this. This looks like a horror film. So I don't know, could be fun. I'm intrigued because it's Jurassic Park, so of course I'm interested. But it looks like they're at least trying something.
Also, from what I remember from Monster Calls, it at least had like horror elements to it. It wasn't out and out a horror movie, but it understood concepts of horror and it played with that in the way that a lot of things meant for children will play with horror.
Yeah, no, I was meaning to check that out. It looked very cool. I think it came out around the same time as that movie Colossal. So that might have been that, and I think the BFG too came out around that same time. So I feel like they all kind of canceled each other out.
Yeah, which by the way, I watched Colossal like on Halloween, like several months after it came out. Actually liked it a lot.
Yeah, no, I heard it was excellent. I need to. The only thing that annoys me is everybody who's talked about it just without warning, just straight up spoils like the big turn.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, okay, I would have loved to have seen that play out. It's like.
Yeah, and I somehow didn't get the big turn for a while, and that's what made me enjoy that movie a lot.
Yeah, like I don't go around spoiling.
Like, oh, I know what this is. Wait a minute.
I don't go around spoiling Megamind for everybody. That was a poll. Remember Megamind?
Megamind was a very good movie.
Megamind is fucking great.
If you want to have an episode where it's just me talking to a wall about animation, I will do that.
Oh, we'll have a few of those.
Fantastic.
Let's see. We've still got a lot of ground to cover, actually. Not a lot, but enough. Moving right along, we got Deadpool 2. Yep, that looks good.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't think have they come out with a new trailer for that? Because I think I know I saw the original one where he's in the phone booth. I don't think I saw the new one.
Oh, did you see the one with the green screen?
Did you not see? Yeah, did you not see the one with Sheriff Woody?
Maybe
you would know.
If you've been to any sort of movie like above, like PG-13 or above, then you probably have seen the trailer.
There's the Bob Ross one.
Yes, I saw that.
But then there's the one where
Mhm.
it starts off with Cable, and it makes you think that it's going to be they do the whole like, oh, it's like an action comedy, but we're going to start it off like super dreary,
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
and then that makes the joke hit harder. They do that whole thing. Yeah, Deadpool 2 looks good. I literally have nothing. I have nothing else to say about it. It looks good.
What more do you need?
Looks good. We also got Incredibles 2.
Yes.
Which-
Yes, finally.
Like I'm going to come in because we're already at 1 hour.
Mhm.
Incredibles 2. I'm gonna put a limit of like a couple minutes on this, like maybe like 10, 15 at
Okay.
most. So let's. I don't have much to say about it, honestly. Looks fucking great.
Yeah, that's all I
Yep.
need to say. I am excited to see this movie.
Looks awesome. Absolutely did not expect what looks to be like a Mr. Mom kind of plot, and I love it.
Yeah, could not have predicted that they would go with the whole like Back to the Future. Oh, the sequel takes place a second after the
Yeah.
first one.
And I think that's genius.
It's a good way to subvert expectations without coming off like an idiot. Because I feel like it would have been when you have this long of a gap, I feel like there's a lot of pressure to live up to like all those years of speculation. So it's
Mhm.
like, okay, instead of going for the thing that everyone would expect, but in different ways, let's go for the thing that next to nobody expected and just roll with it. I think they set themselves up very nicely on this one.
And it also works perfectly to just like, if you haven't seen the movie in a long time, you save it until right after the movie comes out. You watch it the day you're going to go see it, and then you go watch the sequel.
And then you go, oh my god, Incredibles 1 looks like shit. It looks fine.
It was a great
But the skin-
experience.
It looks better than I remember it. Like, I think of like older movies that are like 3D, and I'm like, oh god, it's terrible.
It's
And then I
the-
go back and I'm like, actually, it's not bad.
It's the eyelids. The only thing that doesn't hold up in Incredibles 1 is the eyelids. They look a little
Okay, that's fair.
like specifically the scene when they're falling out of the plane and like they're trying to do the whole like, oh, wind is rushing at them, so like their hair is going and they can't close their eyes properly, but they look like, I don't even know what they look like. It's uncanny valley to the extreme. It doesn't look great. But
Okay.
this movie, the animation, Jesus, like what a way we have come. You know, like
It's also weird to just see this like being just looking at the characters and being like, when I saw it, like the same age as Dash and like younger than Violet, and then looking at them now and being like, oh wow, they look a lot more like children to me now.
yeah. Yes, they do, Shad, man. Yes, they do.
Yeah, it's weird to have taken like such a long gap that I can now look at both movies from a different perspective.
They've got big shoes to fill, but I recall Brad Bird saying everybody would say, "Oh, make Incredibles 2, make Incredibles 2," and Brad Bird just said, "I'm going to make Incredibles 2 when I come up with a story that is worth telling in a sequel. Until then, I'm not making Incredibles 2."
Mhm.
And then, like 10 years later, he was like, "Hey, I got a story." So it's like, okay,
Like, all right.
Like
this is good enough then. So
Oh, and also, one last thing to mention on it from me.
yes.
No matter how the movie panned out anyway, I would have been totally sold for it just because I want another soundtrack, because both are
Oh
gonna
my
be,
god,
like,
yes.
golden.
That soundtrack is one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. I think it
Yes.
is Michael Giannaccio's best work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is
Just start to finish, it's a
phenomenal.
pleasure.
Yeah. No, Incredibles 2 looks great. Can't wait. On the flip side, we have coming out, I think, next month, we have Ready Player One.
My name is Bruce Spider-Man. My name is like a superhero name, get it? Anyway, my life sucks until I become an anime boy. Now, if you die in the game, you die for real.
Yeah. That's-
Okay.
That's the whole movie.
That is the plot of the movie. Congratulations. You don't have to go see it anymore. We've saved you your time.
Things I know.
Yes.
Have any of you ever read any excerpts from Ready Player One, like the book?
Yes, and I think the problem with this movie is that they chose this book to adapt.
Yeah, like there's the whole like the epitome of that feel when too intelligent when he's talking about jerking off.
It's god.
Like if you have not read that section, that's not going to be in the movie. You know they're not going to do that in the movie. if you have not read the section, like, I'm sorry that your Google search history will have Ready Player One masturbation typed into it.
Hold on.
But please read that. Yeah, read through that, actually. You know what? I'm going to do
Oh,
a
Christ.
wee dramatic reading of this, because I think everybody needs to hear this.
You have it pulled up?
It is. I'm going to pull it up right here. Yeah, because the whole point of the book is that, you know what, I'm actually going to find another one too that's even worse. But the whole point of the book basically is lonely, nerdy incel saves the world, because in the world of fantasy,
Yes.
you are the hero. And there's some elements of, like, oh, you know, this is a commentary on commercialization and stuff like that.
It definitely makes a half-assed attempt a couple times.
Yeah, like, but then you read the actual book, and, like, I want you to tell me, like, what kind of fedora do you picture when I read through this monologue?
It's so
Okay,
bad.
It's really, really bad. So this is the main character describing the DeLorean that he drives. The DeLorean came outfitted with a non-functioning flux capacitor, but I'd made several additions to its equipment and appearance. First, I'd installed an artificially intelligent onboard computer named Kit, purchased in an online auction, into the dashboard, along with a matching red Knight Rider scanner just above the DeLorean's grille. Then I'd outfitted the car with an oscillation overthruster, a device that allowed it to travel through solid matter. Finally, to complete my 80s super vehicle theme, I had slapped a Ghostbusters logo on each of the DeLorean's gull-wing doors, then added personalized plates that read Ecto 88. And the article that I found this quote in immediately follows it up with, "Oh my god, fuck off."
Okay, can I just say, I think this movie is not going to be great because the book is not great. I think the thing that will be great is when somebody takes it upon themselves to recreate this entire movie in Second Life, and that will be the best thing that I've ever watched.
That will be beautiful.
I still love, as dead as the whole Uganda Knuckles meme is, I still love that bit where they took the trailer and it's just like, but here you could be anything in the Oasis. And he puts on the goggles and it's just, you're the queen.
Jesus Christ.
And it's, oh my god, I lost it. I still laugh at that one. We have another quotable quote, as this says. I would argue that masturbation is the human animal's most important adaptation, the very cornerstone of our technological civilization. Our hands evolved to grip tools, all right, including your own. You see, thinkers, inventors, and scientists are usually geeks, and geeks have a harder time getting laid than anyone. Without the built-in sexual release valve provided by masturbation, it's doubtful that early humans would have ever mastered the secrets of fire or discovered the wheel. And you can bet that Galileo, Newton, and Einstein never would have made their discoveries if they hadn't first been able to clear their heads by slapping the salami or knocking a few protons off the old hydrogen atom. The same goes for Marie Curie. Before she discovered radium, you can be certain she discovered the little man in the canoe.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, no.
Oh, God. Like,
Right?
did they put the man in a time capsule when he wrote this? Did they, like, flash freeze him from the 80s at age 16 and allow him to, like, grow to an adult size and then write a novel with the brain of a 14-year-old boy?
This is what a human Funko Pop would sound like. Like, what do I have to do? Who do I have to pray to? What do I have to sacrifice so that my writing never sounds like that? Like, Jesus. It's a bit much. It's a bit much. And, you know, you could tell that he's in on the nerd culture. He's a real geek. He's not one of those fake geeks. Because the whole point of Ready Player One is you need to find an Easter egg. Get it? Because those are in video games. So the entire plot just boils down to Rich, not Willy Wonka, dying, and basically appearing in front of everybody and saying,
Can you find the fun egg?
and if you do, you get a bajillion dollars. And whoa, 80s, whoa, remember the Iron Giant? Remember Overwatch? Whoa, fuck off. I'm so sick of this.
I feel like this movie was like, or rather the book was like cut up like ransom note style and like pasted into the Bible for the Big Bang Theory.
Yes. No, you know what I think, and I'm going to get deep with you for a second. You know what the thing is that I hate most about this movie? I would have fucking loved this in high school. And that makes me disgusted with myself. That's where so much of this vitriol comes from. I know that this is the kind of thing.
To be fair,
as a sophomore in high school, I would have been watching this going, the Iron Giant! Like, nobody knows about that movie. They're all watching Twilight, not good movies like Ghostbusters. Nobody's ever seen that. I'm special. And it's like,
yes, but also I think it's well recognized, at least in myself, that anything pertaining to something that high school me would like is already on a negative metric of what's good.
yeah, it's it makes me weep for the death of cinema. It references the movie. And I remember when the first trailer came out, I was like, the thing that'll make or break this is how interesting the actual plot and characters are, and how little of it ends up being a bukkake of references. Because, like, you look at something like Wreck-It Ralph, and I feel like that's a movie that did not abuse its references.
Yes,
you had a lot of really subtle ones, like the graffiti saying "Aerith lives" and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You have, basically it got all of its cameos out of the way in like the first 30 minutes. There were only a couple that they actually like called reference to, to where he'd be like, "Oh, hello, character from this game," But like even then, they implemented it in the story.
Yeah, like it was there to make
that
a
wasn't
point.
overbearing.
Especially Cubert.
Like Cubert showed up, and they weren't like, "Oh, it's Cubert from Cubert. Hello, Cubert."
No, they were like,
and they had a little joke about, they were like, "Oh, it's Cubert," and they had a little joke about like the way he talks, and that was about it. And the rest of the movie was about candy.
But then they also had him like there as the theme of like arcades are a dying breed.
Yeah.
Like that helped to reinforce it, and like not everybody does remember Cubert, and you might remember the name, but you sure as hell haven't played it in the past 10 years.
They used it effectively. They used it appropriately. Whereas
and they made them like a character with feelings instead of an empty, hollow look at this thing that you know.
Look.
Yeah.
Remember Cubert? Remember?
Oh my gosh, it's Gundam. It's Gundam. I remember Gundam. It's Gundam, Jesus. Everybody. Gundam's here. It's it looks embarrassing. And speaking of embarrassing, let's get to the last trailer we're going to be talking about before we get into what we watched this month. The Cloverfield Paradox. Cloverfield Paradox. I feel like this one is actually going to be a lot shorter than I had originally planned, because everybody has fucking said the same exact thing about this train wreck, and how it is an outright scam of a movie. I remember sitting there watching the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden we got a trailer for the next Cloverfield movie, and I remember saying, "Oh shit," and I was so excited, and then I watched it, and I realized, oh, when did they decide to make this a Cloverfield movie? And I looked it up, and the answer is, while they were filming it. It was originally something called The God Particle, and it was going to be a mediocre ripoff of Event Horizon, which is a mediocre ripoff of Alien mixed with a mediocre ripoff of The Shining. And then J.J. Abrams came in and said, "Hey, nobody's going to see this. But what if we put it inside of a mystery box, and we'll slap a bunch of Cloverfield stickers on it, and also the big monster will show up for like 5 seconds. And is it a sequel? Is it a prequel? Is it in the same universe? Is it in the same timeline? We don't know. Mystery box. This is how stories are told." And oh my god, yeah, it was a miserable, not even a miserable experience. It was just nothing. It was just a bad movie that I would have hated a lot more had I actually had to pay money to see it. But
At least there's that.
yeah, at least there's that. It's technically
Mhm.
free, or at least comes free with purchase of a Netflix
Like-
account.
And it's not like you had a long time to wait for it, because it basically immediately came out. You didn't have any kind of mental or emotional investment into this movie. It's just, oh, Cloverfield, let's watch this. Oh, Cloverfield, I watched that?
And Mark, I think you watched it like a week after.
I
It was
watched it.
announced.
I watched it a couple of days after. I watched it. I want to say that Friday, because it came out on Sunday night,
Yeah.
and I only got around to watching it Friday.
I watched it that night with like a drink and zero expectations, and I was like,
I
this
wish
was
I could have watched
fine.
it like that, because I really, really, really liked 10 Cloverfield Lane. I think the first two movies,
It was very
are
good.
excellent.
And I was at no point in the movie was I watching it and being like, this measures up to
Yeah.
the other two.
Oh,
Like
God, no.
at no point was I at that, but I was like, I don't hate this.
I was in that mindset when I was watching it, and then the more I thought about it, the more disgusted it made me in myself and the world around me. It is a tragedy of a film.
I think it works better as like, and I've said this to you before,
Yeah.
Mark. I think it works better as like an hour and a half addition to the ARG that is the Cloververse, rather than as an actual
it's
movie.
not an actual film. It's an
Oh.
ARG promotional stunt. And the thing that really bothers me is I loved the marketing, mainly in that there was none. They ran the trailer and they said, yeah, you can watch this in like 2 hours when the game's over. And I think that's fucking awesome. That's so cool. And they wasted it.
Yeah, it was a really
have
good
this
idea.
I fell
You
for
have
it.
this gigantic viewer base that's sitting right, like, it's right in front of you. Like, wait, this looks
Yeah.
cool. We should watch this, honey. Oh, you mean we could watch this right now on Netflix? Oh God, sure, why not?
Yeah.
We got all our friends over. Let's watch it.
Yeah, and regardless of how I felt about the movie, that was a genius move. Like, whoever's on their marketing team needs a raise, because that was amazing.
Yeah, regardless of your thoughts on these Cloverfield movies, like I said, I really like the first two. I think Cloverfield is a good movie with brilliant marketing.
Mhm.
I think 10 Cloverfield Lane is a phenomenal movie. Depending on who you are, you
Mhm.
might not like the last 10 minutes, but I think it is still an excellent film.
Yeah, I thought it was fine.
Yeah, the marketing on that is really good. And even the marketing on this one, even though this is by far the weakest one out of all of them,
Mhm.
the marketing, it got me, you know? I fell for it. They got me hook, line, and sinker. It did what it needed to do. But
To the point that, like, you didn't even ask yourself questions that you might ask if you had had more time to think about it.
yeah,
Like, if you saw it and you were like, oh, it's a Cloverfield movie, but it's going straight to Netflix. That's okay. Maybe they didn't...
yeah,
Maybe they didn't have enough faith in it to put it in theaters.
yeah,
But like, you didn't even have the time to think about that. You were just like, oh, okay, let's go and do this. And it makes sense from the outside. Like, hindsight's 2020. But like, that was a genius move on their part.
it really was. See, part of me now wants to make the thumbnail still Tommy Wiseau wrestling with the Venom symbiote with the Raptor Man in the back. Another part of me wants to get that bit from Marge versus the Monorail where she finds the sketchbook. But instead of...
If you start out episode 1 using Simpsons things as thumbnail gifs, you're just
It'll-
never going to stop. Mark.
It'll set a dangerous precedent. But I'm picturing the little sketch of like Lyle Landley driving away with all the money and like the monorail exploding behind him. But instead of Lyle Landley, it's J.J. Abrams, and the monorail has Netflix written on it.
Only if you superimpose the Cloverfield monster inside of the explosion. Just,
Yeah,
like,
but it's
popping
like
out he's
it's
the
like
cause.
it's not even cropped. It's just a JPEG. It's just a JPEG inserted on. Oh God.
Okay, so that was Cloverfield Paradox. Let's
That
talk
was the
about
Cloverfield Paradox. Let's move on.
keep going.
Let's talk about a good movie. That Chris, I know you watched this one. A Stupid and Futile Gesture. This was also
it was very good.
direct to Netflix. This was the story of what was his name? See, now I feel bad. This is the story of the man who invented National Lampoon.
Doug Kenny.
Doug Kenny, yes, Doug Kenny, played by Will Forte.
Mm-hmm. Fantastically by Will Forte.
Really, like, Will Forte does not get nearly the credit as an actor that I think he deserves.
Yeah.
I don't think
he's an A-list actor with like a C-list billing all the time.
Yeah, he's like because he's unfortunately typecast as either as like the weird SNL guy.
Mm-hmm. Which
He's
like
the
was
guy that did all the
perfect for
weird
this.
voices. It was really perfect for this. Like he got this down pat. I love the presentation of this. I'm not going to go into spoilers because
Mm-hmm.
even though I mean we could go into spoilers, but I won't. I won't for this one
I
because I
have
don't think
not seen this
James. I don't
movie.
think you've seen this. Yeah,
It's very
I
good,
would
and you should
recommend
watch
it.
it.
Yeah, it is not a comedy. It is a drama about comedy.
Yes, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It is, and that's the thing. Nothing hurt more than when I was on watching it on Netflix. I clicked on the like, what do users think, like the little user review
Mhm.
thing, and it was just 1 star after 1 star after 1 star. This movie wasn't even funny like Animal House is,
You
and it's
missed the
like,
point, man.
like I don't like saying we just didn't get it, but you just didn't fucking get it, dude. Like, but no, this movie was very. This is a special movie. Like I like the presentation a lot. I think
And
it reminded me a lot of.
I feel like the beginning gives you
Yeah.
kind of a hint as to what kind of movie it'll be, which is why I give them less
Yeah.
leeway. Because like the intro of it very much shows what the movie really is before like putting the curtain back in front.
Yeah, it's like it reminded me a lot of American Splendor, which I remember. I remember, Chris. I recommended you watch A Stupid and Futile Gesture,
Yes.
and then like 2 hours later, you texted me and you were like, "Hey, so I need something in the similar vein, but that won't make me kill myself.
Yes.
Give me something uplifting." And I was like, American Splendor, because these movies were made to be watched as a double feature. American Splendor being the story of Harvey Pekar,
And you were right, it was
who was
perfect.
who was he was a real life man who had a comic basically about his day to day life.
We'll
I
get into
can't
that one.
really
We'll get
say.
into
I
that
can't
one.
really. Yeah, we'll get. Oh yeah, that's right. Because you said that, so you could talk about American Splendor if you like.
Yes,
yeah.
I forgot about
But yeah, Stupid and Futile Gesture, excellent movie. Very, especially if you are a creative type. If you are someone who creates content or does anything, or really even if you're not a creative type,
If you do
have
things
ever
to make people
wondered-
laugh, you will understand the heart of this movie.
Yes, if you do things to make people laugh, to make people think, if you do things for the reaction that you get from people, and if you have ever asked, "Oh, does this even matter? Does what I'm creating even impact the world?" Then you need to watch this movie. It is fantastic. Also, shout out to a bunch of the people in the cast who either liked and or retweeted my tweet about the Stupid and Futile
Yes.
Gesture.
Because
That's
it
awesome.
got,
very
like,
much
a couple-
seemed like a
Yeah, I
passion
got, like-
project for all of the people doing little bit parts as characters. Like, you can
Yes.
tell that this wasn't
Yeah,
like a
no,
big money get for them, but there's still a lot of good names in it just because it's such a good movie and like probably such a fun time.
Yeah, Joel McHale is Chevy Chase, where he doesn't look a thing like Chevy Chase, but he sounds a lot
Yes,
like
and the
him.
meta narrative of him and
I
his
kept forgetting it was
relationship
Joel
with him and
McHale.
Community probably added to that a little bit.
Oh my god, I didn't even
Yeah,
think
you
of
know
that.
that was just like a, hey Joel, wouldn't it be funny if...
What would Chevy do here? He's like, I don't know, do some coke and be an asshole.
They were like, that's perfect,
Like-
you have the part. You understand what we're trying to say here.
Yeah, it is a fascinating movie.
Also, Domhnall Gleeson, completely unrecognizable, gives like... I want to say Will Forte gives
He
the
is
best
becoming-
performance in this movie solely by how much focus is on him, but Domhnall Gleeson is definitely like the deuteragonist
Yeah.
of this and plays it to the hilt.
Yeah, no, Donald Gleason, he is becoming one of my like stealth favorite actors of this generation, just because I don't know if you've ever seen Frank, which is that movie about the guy with the big paper mache head.
I haven't, but I probably will because I have a friend here in LA that like absolutely is in love with Domhnall Gleeson and everything that he does, and I will be
You'd probably-
forced to watch that if I don't watch it by myself.
You'd probably like it a whole lot. It actually does cover some of the same like themes as this movie in terms of like being a creative person. I know it struck a chord with me because I've always been that kind of person where it's like, oh, I like writing poetry and stuff, but I haven't had a very interesting or tortured life. So how am I supposed to make great art if I haven't suffered? You know? And the main character played by Donald Gleason has that mindset through it, and it's very interesting. But that's another movie where he is basically unrecognizable. He is a fucking chameleon. He is a very good actor.
Which
So
one's
yeah, if you watched American Splendor, so why don't you talk about that?
Okay,
For
I
a few
did watch
minutes?
American Splendor. Mark, you've seen it because you recommended it to me. James, I don't think you've seen it.
Yes.
Sorry to cast
This
you
is
out
another,
two in a
this is
row.
another one I think you would like. We'll do a James movie
Yes,
after this one, because I know you saw some really good ones that we could definitely sink our teeth
Exactly.
into.
And also, you had a lot just like by yourself that I want to hear your thoughts on because I see the couple in there, and one of them I haven't seen. So American Splendor, it's about the story of a man by the name of Harvey Picar, who is a person who does he's a comic maker, and he's a very like misanthropic, like just really genuinely cynical man, or at least that's how he appears on the outset. And the movie is something of a biopic, but it like kind of in the same vein of Stupid and Futile Gesture. It plays with like a meta narrative, and it very much recognizes that it is as much a biopic as it is like a movie that needs to have like an arc and a beginning and an end, and like different things to help move it along. And this one uses it by including Harvey Picar himself in it to explain certain things. And it really helps you get a sense of who this man is as a person, because like it'll show things with the actors. It has Mark, who plays Harvey Picar?
Paul Giamatti. Paul Giamatti.
Yeah,
And they have the actual Harvey Picar in there as well.
Yes, and they started off by having, I think, I don't remember for certain, but I think it's Paul Giamatti playing Harvey Picar talking about how Harvey is watching this movie being made and how they cast Paul Giamatti, who doesn't really look like him, through the mouthpiece of Paul Giamatti. And then it switches over to show Harvey Picar himself. And it does a lot of things like that, where it'll show aspects of his life that seem exaggerated, and then they'll go back to him or like somebody in his life, and it'll be exactly the same. Like it has a moment where you meet his best friend, and it's Paul Giamatti and what's the name of that one guy from 30 Rock that plays his best friend, who's almost unrecognizable in this movie.
I
think
haven't
it's
seen
Peter
this in a
Friedlander, I
while.
want to say.
Oh yeah. It's him.
He plays his best friend, and they have a moment where they're bickering and they're arguing about like something stupid, because that's most of the scenes in this movie are just him arguing about things. And it seems like it's being played as like a character, and it absolutely is, because this, to my knowledge, is not at all what Judah Friedlander is like, and he completely just disappears into this character. But then they have another scene where they go back, and it's the actual Harvey Picar and his best friend, and they're arguing in the foreground of this like little documentary setup, and in the background, like the camera just kind of like pans a little bit too far over, and you can see like the what do you call it, the food that they have laid
Like
out
the
for the
set.
actors, and it's just Paul Giamatti and
the
Judah
crash.
Friedlander in the background just laughing and watching these two playing the exact same bit almost, but at like a different argument, and it's exactly the same.
It's a really fascinating presentation.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting way to approach, like, it's half documentary and half biopic.
Yes,
and it will also make you say, man,
That's really
fuck
cool.
David Letterman.
it really will.
It really will.
God, and like I think
I kind of like David Letterman, but man, boy oh boy, does this movie go in on David Letterman.
Yeah, in like the mid to late 80s, at least, like, fuck that specific period of David Letterman's life.
Fuck that form of David Letterman.
Yes.
Before he powered up and became golden David Letterman.
Yeah, in the same sense that we were just saying not 10 minutes ago, like, fuck our high school selves. Fuck late 80s David Letterman.
Yeah, when it was all coke and interns.
No, that was the last movie.
That was the original name for this podcast, Coke and Interns.
We can afford neither.
Oh god.
But yeah, I really like the presentation of of like having the actors there and then also having the real people there, and it just gives a very good sense of like the actors have a very good understanding of how to play these people and who they are, and B, it makes it feel more endearing and heartfelt to see like these very like naked human like moments in this man's life. Like at no point is any of it at all glamorous, and I think all of it happens except for the very first scene that the like directors and the writers came up with, which I think Harvey points out in the thing that whole like beginning scene never happened. Not really looking at the meta narrative that it's like a Halloween thing, and all these kids walk up to the door of this woman's house, and they're all dressed up as superheroes except for one that's all the way on the end. She's like, "Oh, here you go. Here's some candy for Superman and Batman and Spider-Man. And who are you supposed to be?" And he's just angrily like, "I'm Harvey Picar, lady." And it works so well as like his position in comics as just like this weird slice of life, like very negative, not glamorized thing coming out at like the very end of the Silver Age of comics. And that was really cool.
I remember also, I really liked James Urbaniak as R. Crumb. I thought he did a really good job.
I forgot about that. He's only in like most of the first act, and he might appear like once towards the end. He was really good, and I thought he was going to be a more important part of the like of the whole movie, just because of how like integral he was to the beginning of it.
Yeah, James Urbaniak from Venture Brothers fame, which is another thing all three of us need to marathon, because I watched that whole series not too long.
Like full 25 hours.
I actually looked at binge clock. It would actually take like 5 days to watch all of it from beginning to end.
Jesus.
We're getting season 7 in, we're assuming, the fall or the winter of 2018.
Well, I apologize for lowballing. Jeez.
Yeah, right. But yeah, American Splendor, good movie. James, what's one of the movies that you watched this month?
So, I guess I'll get this one out of the way because I literally just came from going to see it.
Yes, I was going to suggest that.
The movie theater right next to us, right next to me, what used to be right next to all of us, but you losers had to move away, did a re-showing of The Dark Crystal, which is a goddamn masterpiece.
Which I have never seen.
You've never seen it.
Would you believe I have never seen it either?
Really?
I've seen Labyrinth. I've seen Neverending Story. I've seen like all the stuff from that same realm. Dark Crystal is the one that I never got to see.
I think
same.
I will say I haven't seen Neverending Story either. I'm not movie cultured. I've been told many times. Have seen Labyrinth, and while I enjoyed Labyrinth, like the fact that literally everything in the Dark Crystal. There are no, as far as I can tell, actual human actors on screen at any time whatsoever. Mm-hmm. There's a few moments where you're questioning it, and like, is that they're zoomed out? Is that a puppet, or is that it adds to the magic of it? Like it completely manages to envelop you in this fantasy world in a way that like very few other things have been able to, because it's just everything is foreign to you. Everything is just new and exciting, and every scene has that little that Jim Henson magic in it, where there's just a little something there that catches your eye from second to second to second to second, and then the actual like you'll realize, oh wait, this is just like a panning shot of the environment. Nothing's actually happening, but this entire world is alive in this amazing way. I can't say I've seen many Jim Henson movies, but I feel like I think 100% Dark Crystal will always be my favorite. Because along with like all of that like life that they managed to inject, they put you into this world, and in like an hour and a half you get to this deep intrinsic understanding, and you get to feel this mystery of this world that's been created, that's been told to you very subtly throughout the entire thing. That the whole history of this universe is just kind of built into the main narrative of the story. It's great. It was really cool.
All right.
I'm kind of disappointed. Like apparently, because this was like a special premiere re-showing, like they gave a little bit of like information from Jim Henson's daughter before the movie actually started.
Oh, that's cool.
And one of the
Fathom Events, right?
I think so. I don't really remember her name.
I think they're the ones that usually do the stuff at the theater, like the re-releases and special editions and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think they did that.
Those are always a fun time.
One of the things that she said, apparently at the first showing, the premiere of this movie, it wasn't really all in English. Like the main two like elfy puppets were speaking English for the most part, but like Skeksis, the big like bird dudes, they spoke their own language. It was a completely different language, and it was just you basically had to follow the plot of what was going on from their scenes, just basically from them emoting and acting things out. And I apparently nobody liked it at the premiere, and nobody wanted to watch it. But this is also the first movie of its type, and I think like if I would fucking love that. That sounds so cool to me. Like I'm a big like I get a big boner for world building in anything, and just being able to see that kind of scene get acted out in this fucking court of a foreign alien race that's so cool to me. But yeah.
Yeah, no, that's pretty wild. I wonder if they have that like the Skeksis cut on whatever Blu-ray release, because I feel like they would want to if they still have it kicking around.
I also think that's cool from the perspective of just like Jim Henson having so much faith in like trusting the puppet actors to be able to convey something to you purely with the body language of the puppets.
Yes,
and I'd say like if I can go back and like think about all the scenes where these puppet actors like would have to be doing that, like a good portion of it, if you really wanted to sit down and dissect everything, you could totally understand exactly what's going on from moment to moment. Like it's not like it's exactly cryptic. It's just I think the fact that this was the first time any of these people were going into a movie theater and seeing something like this, it was just very jarring, and they really they weren't prepared going in to understand what was going on. But I feel like if that was something that was released nowadays and people like went in like, oh, okay, this is cool. This is what's going to happen. Okay. You could really, I just as going in now.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I very much miss that kind of like weird era where it was, let's have kids movies that are like strange, trippy, like sci-fi fantasy dramas, but there's no explicit sex or swearing or violence, so we can like it's PG, so it's
the last thing that I can
it's
remember,
a PG, but it's a dark and interesting.
I'm trying to remember anything that was like an explicitly like dark, weird thing. The last thing that I remember seeing, at least that I remember being explicitly for kids, was like 9.
Yeah, and like I feel like that it wasn't even really marketed to kids. I remember, like, I saw it was freshman year in high school.
Like a little bit above, like teens.
I always picture that as a Hot Topic movie.
Yeah, Hot Topic. Yeah. No, because did the trailer actually have Evanescence in it?
I'm pretty sure.
Imagining that. And it was like...
No, I think it had Coheed and Cambria.
Yeah, it was Coheed and Cambria, and it was like from the director of Alice in Wonderland, Tim Burton, and it's like, ooh boy, you're going for your target audience there.
Even though I'm pretty sure it was not Tim Burton. Like I think he might have been executive producer or something. Yeah.
Yeah, he went. Oh, that's a cool short film you got there. What if it was part of the Cloververse? And he scooped them up and financed it basically. But yeah, no, I feel like nowadays there's just like there's kids movies with dark parts. Like you get stuff like in Wreck-It Ralph again, like fucking Turbo. Like it's like, oh, that's creepy, and like Frankenweenie is a little morbid and a little weird, but there's nothing that has that kind of Jim Henson like, no, let's fuck it, let's just scare the shit out of some children, let's just make it like,
you want something that is like all ages off-putting.
Yeah, like let's make it a dark, unforgiving world that is made brighter by the characters, and I feel like you don't really see that nowadays, which I can understand because I can't imagine that's the most marketable thing in the world, but I don't know. I feel like you'd earn a lot in terms of goodwill.
It's a very niche thing to do because it's not going to immediately be as like forgiving when it first gets released. Like when you make that, you go in like with the expectation of it being a cult classic, because like this is going to be something like the parents that enjoyed this and know like the world that it's presenting are going to show this to their kids one day and grow them up, like bring them up on it.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that it's immediately going to sell $1 million in the box office and make you all your money back.
Mm-hmm. And I also think that Jim Henson largely those kinds of movies largely hinged on the idea that people actively weren't paying attention to movies that were labeled child movies. Like, I felt like they knew that they could make it darker because they knew how it would be marketed, and that people would take their kids to see it thinking it's a kid movie, and that they could really put whatever they wanted in it as long as there was enough to make a trailer that would turn it into something that it wasn't, that would cause it to still look marketable.
Yeah, it's one of those like back in my day things, but I think to an extent that is the one case where I think you could make a case for it.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than just being I remember 90s. I'm a 90s kid. I'm so excited for Ready Player One. But yeah, let's see. What else did we watch this month?
Let's cycle back to you, Mark. What is
all right,
your
yeah.
take on?
No, that works. We'll go down the line.
Mm-hmm.
Another movie. Let's see. I watched Cloverfield. I watched Stupid Field Gesture. I watched a film called Fantastic Planet. And this is one that I had been waiting for a good long while to see because I have one of those recommended charts for like recommended adult animation, and I've seen a lot of it. I've seen like Wizards, Yellow Submarine, like a lot of the stuff that shows up on there. And this is always one that really intrigued me just because the art design is so cool. So I finally watched it, and yeah, it's some weird French shit. It is exactly what I expected it to be. I wouldn't necessarily call it entertaining. It was very fascinating to watch, especially just in the way that it was animated. Like, imagine something with the animation style of like Terry Gilliam, like from a Monty Python short. But it's a serious dramatic film about everything from like man versus nature, ethnic cleansing, like man rebelling against a higher power, like all kinds of stuff. It's adapted from a 50s sci-fi novel, and that's exactly what it feels like. Basically, it's about in the distant future. They're like, oh yeah, mankind destroyed itself because of course they did. That's what they do. But there are some remnants of humans left over, and there are these big blue giants called drags, and they live on this planet. And they have humans there who are now called ohms, which is supposed to be like a play on words for the French word for man, with being homme. And like humans are basically vermin there. Like they have little feral colonies, and some drags keep them as pets, and they dress them up in ridiculous outfits and make them fight for their amusement. And it's a very kind of oppressive society, even for the ones that really love their pet humans. And the one main one ends up escaping and kind of almost acting like a Prometheus. Like he brings knowledge to the little feral clusters of humans and mobilizes them. And yeah, if I went in deeper, it would basically just be explaining the entire plot. But it's exactly what you'd expect when I say it is a trippy 70s French sci-fi animated film based off of a trippy 50s French sci-fi novel. It was some cool stuff. I would recommend checking it out at least once.
It does sound like it's worth a watch.
But no, it's fast. I still think, James, you and me need to hang out and watch Wizards, because Wizards is a movie that deals with a lot of the same kind of stuff where it's like, oh, it's all about subtext and everything like that. But
I was going to say, the whole time you were explaining this, I was like, this reminds me of Wizards.
Yeah, but the thing with Wizards is actually like entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Like Fantastic Planet, not to downplay it, but it's a lot more like a moving painting than like a movie, where like it reads like an old parable or an old novel, whereas Wizards is fucking insane. I showed one of our mutual friends the first 5 minutes of Wizards, and I was like, reminder, this is the first 5 minutes of the movie, where it explains terrorists blowing up the earth 2 million years in the future, and then a couple million years after that, humanity resurfacing as a race of dwarves and elves. and then how there were two wizard siblings born of an immaculate conception, and then a couple million years later, one of them found Nazi technology, and it's fucking insane. It's so good. Wizards is great. But yeah, no, Fantastic Planet is a cool movie, and I don't have a whole lot to say about it, but it's a good time. It's a very visual movie. Yeah, let's keep the pattern going. Chris, I know you saw some other stuff as well.
Yes, I think last on my docket was I saw Black Panther, and I don't have much to say because it was just good. It was just really good.
It was just an enjoyable experience.
That's what I've.
It was
that's what I've been
completely
hearing.
like the story was fucking succinct. It was like it hit all the beats perfectly. It paid enough attention to all of the side characters. I never felt confused as to who was who. It was just really masterfully done.
Yeah, no, I've been hearing a lot of praise about like the side characters in particular. I haven't been able to go see it just because the nearest movie theater is a ways away from where I'm at. So seeing things when I'm down here at school is a little tricky. But no, I've heard very good things
like
about it.
the insane amount of praise that it is getting, it's not unearned. It's a very well crafted movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look at that.
Yeah, I don't feel qualified to
right.
speak onto like any of the other major aspects of it, which are of course the obvious like elephant in the room. But I think that it's
Namely
good
the
and it's an
Elephant
important
Man.
movie, and it was really well done.
The one thing I will say is I'm glad you're the one to bring it up because all three of us are as white as sour cream. Like, we are the whitest people you can possibly. We have a movie podcast, of course we are.
You know.
Yes. My big worry was they were going to play. They have a target demographic. My worry was they were going to play very, 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 very heavily into that just to kind of pander. And from what I'm hearing, they didn't do that at all. It is an enjoyable movie no matter who you are, and that's honestly what I wanted to see from it. Like I don't want to have a movie where it's like, oh, okay, this is a great movie if you're in the target demographic. This sounds like this is just an all around fantastic movie, and that's good. That's what you want from something like this because I've seen all the memes disagreeing with it, but this like really is one of the first times, at least in recent history, and really ever, that main
Some of this scale and quality, we'll say.
The main.
We're not discounting
the main
Blade.
cast.
We remember Blade. Blade is great.
We remember
It's
Blade,
very important to
but
Cops
the
history
main-
too. I know.
Some motherfuckers always trying to ice skate uphill.
The main cast are all people of color, and it's not they're not really token actors either. This is that.
Well, there's
You get the point I'm trying to make.
that joke's been made 8 billion times already.
I remember because I was glad to hear that too, because that was one of the things that I was a little concerned with the trailers.
Yeah,
where it's like, oh, we introduced T'Challa in Civil War, and I was like, this is a cool character. Like I liked him a bit more than Spider-Man in Civil War, because it felt like Marvel's been falling into that kind of thing where it's like, people like Tony Stark, just make everyone funny. And then it's like in comes Black Panther, and there's the whole bit where Hawkeye tries to banter with him a bit, and he just says, I don't care, and like bicycle kicks him. And it's like, no, I cannot sanction your buffoonery. Like I'm here, I'm a man on a mission. And I was like, that's cool, that's refreshing. He's a cool dude. This is an interesting character.
Yes.
And then
he definitely gets even more fleshed out in this movie.
Fantastic.
And you see him.
That's what
it's very good.
That's what I've been hearing a lot. And I remember like when the trailers came out, I was like, oh, this feels like a bunch of rich white people put this trailer together.
Which very well may be the case.
Probably. We're making a movie about Black Panther. What kind of music should we get for that? And then they all start laughing and doing rails.
I'm very glad. Yeah. Everything I've been hearing about that movie is fantastic. I cannot wait to see it.
It's really good. Also,
literally everything I've been hearing has been assuaging all of my, not to say fears, because it's not like a Venom say where I'm like, this is probably going to suck, but I hope it's okay. But rather, less fears, more concerns, where it's like, that's sitting a little weird. But from what I've heard, everything's like, no, movie's really good, builds him up really, really good. All the side characters are great and enjoyable. It doesn't feel like it's trying to sell itself based off of the
Yes.
obvious,
You can go into this movie.
You
elephant in
can
the
tell
room.
that it's done, like, that it's a complete labor of love. And I know, James, you mentioned before how you love when something is, like, world building. The world building in this movie is fantastic.
Yes!
It's just really good.
Yeah.
Like, the entire country of Wakanda, more than any other location I've seen in, like, the cinematic Marvel universe, you get a sense of, like, who they are and how their world works, and it's fucking great.
Awesome.
Yeah. And that's the thing is I remember like when Wonder Woman came out and it's like that turned out to be a fine movie. That was okay. But one of the things that I think made me enjoy it a lot more is because there was so much dumb bullshit being flung around on the internet, on social media when that was coming out. And when you watch the movie, they don't even address it. Like that's where Ghostbusters fucked up is they started like playing into it and taking on almost like an antagonistic role. Whereas with stuff like Wonder Woman, and as far as I can tell with Black Panther, it's like we're not even going to worry about that. We're just going to tell a story because we're above that. And it's like
and that's genuinely what it's like.
Yeah, and I think that when you have a movie like this,
nothing but heart, and that's what made it so great.
Yeah, when you have a movie like this where it's like people are going to be fucking idiots about it, it's like being above that. I think adds a lot to I don't know what the phrase would be. So we'll call it like the rhetorical situation, like all the details surrounding the movie. I think that really helps to sell it.
The meta narrative.
But yeah, that's the thing. When I eventually see it, I will probably release like a standalone podcast bit, just because it seems like one of those big blockbuster type dealies where I could actually like I could justify doing that for stuff like that or stuff like Infinity War. But
and I also enjoyed it just from like the level of Marvel movies where like a lot of things railed against them a lot of times is like, oh, there's some really good supporting cast. Wish we saw more of them. That like it seems like they not only like watched the issues that were like thrown at it as like the concept of the movie, but also like of Marvel movies in general. Like, what do people normally say is a problem with that? Let's not do that. And it just makes the whole thing look a lot stronger.
Yeah, no, that's awesome to hear.
Yeah,
because I have been getting a bit of the Marvel fatigue. So it's good to hear. It's good to hear one of the primary things from everybody who's seen this saying, "Oh yeah, it doesn't necessarily like, oh God, broke the mold," but it's like it doesn't fall into those same pitfalls.
And that's a good sign.
That a lot of the other ones do, it's a very good sign considering where they're at. Like I've still got that little again, another little fear, a little concern that like Infinity War is not going to go full Age of Ultron, but that it's still going to default to the like, well, we're going to make jokes because like Thor and Rocket Raccoon, they're ridiculous. This is silly. Get it? We know it's silly too. And it's like, man, we've been at this for a decade. I care about these characters. You can take this seriously. Like that's my biggest issue with the Marvel movies. I feel like Guardians of the Galaxy is the only series out of the MCU that successfully really, really strongly balances emotion and humor. Like everything else, they got some jokes. Like Winter Soldier gets the character stuff down really good, but I wouldn't call Winter Soldier a comedy. But then you got ones where like it feels like they use it too much as a crutch. Like something like Doctor Strange. I didn't need the Dan Harmon rewrites. I didn't need to know that Doctor Strange knows who Beyonce is to be able to buy interdimensional wizards kung fu fighting between realms, you know?
I haven't seen Doctor Strange.
What?
Really?
Chris, I take that as a personal insult.
I'm sorry, James. I know.
It's pretty good.
I haven't seen it, but I can say I think I enjoy that my first introduction to him was in Thor Ragnarok because I loved that little like extra scene that they had in there. It wasn't needed, but I'm glad it was there.
I will say that was probably
because I was like, I don't know anything about Doctor Strange, but I saw him here and I liked it.
That was a really good intro to the character, honestly. Like, yeah.
He just pops in as a dude that exists, and I was like, "Oh, that's neat." He's a cool character.
If you got a problem,
which I think is how it works in comics a lot, where you see like a character that has their own issues, but they're just like guest starring. You're like, "Oh, that guy's really cool."
My name is Spider-Man, and I'm good at punching cars, but now I've got a ghost, and I don't know what to do with it. So I'm going to go to Bleecker Street. I'm going to get Doctor Strange because he handles ghosts.
Yeah, like that.
And that's how it works, and it's great. Not everybody needs to fight a man who is similar to them but in a similar suit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But,
which one are we going to next?
let's move on to James because James still has a few more.
I've got two more, one of which I can say a lot less about, so I'm just gonna get that one out of the way.
Yeah, you know what? Do that
Watched
because
Mulan last night.
I got one more, so this will work out perfectly then. So yeah, get your
Beautiful.
out of the way.
All right,
Mulan.
so Mulan's my quick one. There is very few things I could say that are like, it's a great movie.
Yeah,
100%. It's one of the few like, this is I feel like Disney has two modes. Disney has Disney princess movies, and then Disney has the rest of their stuff. And I tend to like the Disney princess movies less than the rest of their stuff because it winds up feeling like it's filling out, kind of checking off the boxes for this is what is going to be a successful Disney princess movie. This is the character we're going to build. She's going to kind of be not exactly a cardboard cutout, but she is going to be a cutout of some kind.
She wants
mirroring
more.
these. Yeah, she's not like the other girls.
Yeah.
Like Mulan still does that, but at the same time, Mulan does that in a way that was just it's great. She's makes
like a
sense.
fun, goofy idiot. Like
the character is fun while still filling out the things that you want to do, like you want to have into your movie to sell to little girls.
Yeah.
Like it's a princess movie without feeling like a princess movie, and that's probably the best thing I can say about it. Because that's a fantastic compliment. Because it takes the best of Disney that I love. That I like. Hercules and Hunchback of Notre Dame are my other two favorite Disney movies.
Those are good ones.
They're great movies.
Hercules is one of the best Superman movies ever made.
That's true.
Mulan falls in as probably a tie for one of my favorite Disney movies, along with those because it's great.
Yeah, that's the thing. That pattern you were talking about, like the princess pattern, that was one of the big issues that I had with Moana because it feels like now they have like the Disney Renaissance pattern was like, okay, young girl wants more, like. She's got a brain and she doesn't just want to be a princess, but she's also a princess. And now it feels like the new pattern is like, well, she's got a brain, but she's also quirky and relatable and goes on. She has funny hair at one point, right, ladies? And she teams up with a gruff kind of asshole who is either her best friend or love interest. And they've got a funny sidekick that doesn't talk so we could show off animation, and a funny sidekick that's like the moral center. And they have to go on an adventure, but like an actual adventure with like action. And it's like, if you apply that to like Frozen, Tangled, Moana, there's even bits of it in like Wreck-It Ralph and Zootopia, where it's like, okay, like this, like I didn't even notice this until Moana, where it's like, okay, so you got the princess and you got her asshole friend, which is The Rock, and then you've got like, there's the one moral center comic relief where it's like you got the tattoo, you got the horse, you got the reindeer, and then it's like you got the goofy one where it's like, okay, you got fucking Olaf, you got the ocean, you got the chicken, and it's like that's a bit much.
I did think that there was one thing that Moana did that I liked with villain twists were a pretty big thing that kept happening in Disney movies for a while, where it was like, this is the villain, but actually this is the villain. And this was still something of a villain twist, but it was different and a more interesting one.
It was a face turn, not a heel turn, which is cool. You don't see a whole lot of those.
And they're always more fun to see.
I think Mulan, especially because, like, if you look at, like, the trailers, I love those late 90s Disney trailers and how dramatic they were. And, like, I don't know, Mulan, I think, balances everything really, really well. It has good action, it has good music. Yes. Some of the best music of the Disney Renaissance, I would argue. Some of the best characters. It's a grand old time. I like Mulan a lot.
It's real good.
And then, it's real good. Did you guys hear about Mulan? Did you hear about Szechuan sauce?
Oh my god, I was just about
anything.
Oh god, I feel one too intelligent.
So yeah, the next movie.
Pickle Rick. Next movie. Yeah, what was the next movie you watched, James?
Do you guys have any more?
I'm
or do we want to?
Those were my movies.
I have one more.
All right.
I have one more.
Well, Mark, do
So-
yours, and then we'll finish up with mine.
Are you sure?
Yes.
2 hour mark. We've
Okay.
hit it.
Well, I watched just the other day the live action Full Metal Alchemist movie, which is on Netflix now. I have never seen any Full Metal Alchemist before. I went in completely dry. If you haven't either, it's about two brothers, Alphonse and and no. They try to bring their mother back, and it costs an arm and a leg. Whoop-a-doop-boo.
Definitely
Joke has never been done before. This movie's fucking boring. it's so boring. Like, James, have you watched Full Metal Alchemist? I feel like
I
you
have watched basically with Chris, actually. I have watched up to that episode of Brotherhood.
Really?
And
Oh, man.
I don't have an excuse for why I haven't continued to watch it. I actually really enjoy it. Like, all of that is me.
I was
love
going
that.
to say, I think I watched it in the same fashion
Yeah.
where I got to like that point and I really enjoyed all of it. And then I just stopped watching for a really long time. And then I got back into it again and I just finished the whole thing.
Huh.
I have a large anime list, and that is we have a 3-star ranking system, and that is a 3-star ranked anime. It's just we haven't gotten to it yet.
Yeah, no, I need to watch Brotherhood because I remember being aware of it, and only when I got older did I see people start to rank it among the big boys, where it's like, oh yeah, like, so the best modern anime ever made. It's like, like Fooly Cooly, Cowboy Bebop, Gurren Lagann, Full Metal Alchemist, and I was like, oh, like,
But actually,
Oh, yeah, it's
okay,
very
that
good.
means
And
it's
also
really,
it's-
really good then.
It's interesting because it's very good despite being longer than those other ones without there ever really being filler.
Mm.
Like the whole way through, it's nothing but
Yeah.
necessary
Yeah,
plot
that's-
points
that's
and it
the-
manages to go longer than most anime tends to go.
Oh boy, did this movie fuck up then, because like none of the plot points matter here. The whole time I was watching it, I was just thinking like, oh man, I know this is doing a disservice to the series, and I haven't even watched it. Like, I will give the filmmakers credit because the director actually he put out this amazing quote where he was like, let me pull it up real quick because I know I put it in the written review, which just went live now.
Mhm.
Of course. Well, what's that URL?
And that URL, that would be whiteguyWithNetflix.blogspot.com. I forgot to plug
Oh.
myself. Yeah. But no, the director for this movie, he literally said, "It is my dearest wish to turn this wonderful story into a film, and it is not an exaggeration to say that I am living for this reason."
Oh no.
And it's like, oh fuck, dude, like he wanted it,
Dang.
but it did not work. Okay, like I'm gonna try and sum up this movie as succinctly as I can. Okay, so like we get our little opening bit where we see them, try to resurrect their mom, and then we flash forward a bit and we get like a kind of fun action sequence where it's like it's showing off, what alchemy does. He's making like pillars out of the ground and shit like that. And I was like, okay, this could be fun.
Mhm.
This could be fun. This is high energy. Cue an hour and 45 minutes of nothing. Of absolutely nothing after that. Just exposition for like 40 minutes of like, my name is Edward and this is Al and our mom's dead and also rule of equivalent exchange and it's just like we finally get everything we need to like begin the plot like 40 minutes in. And then they go around and just a bunch of shit happens. Like they go from one scene to the next. And there's the fucking, what's his name? Tucker, the dude who, spoiler alert, combines his daughter with
Yes.
a dog. He's like, hypnotizing Alphonse because he can't fall asleep because he's a suit of
Mhm.
armor. And he's hypnotizing him, and there's a part where he's talking about false memories, and he's like, yeah, because your soul got jumbled around, so you might have false memories. And he's like, wait, so you're saying that everything I know might be a lie? And he went, kinda. And then later on, they're looking for this hidden lab, and fucking, what's his name? Fucking... He comes in, and he's like, I promise I'm gonna fix you, I swear. And then Alphonse is like, how do I even know you're telling the truth? You might not even be my brother. And they fight. And I'm like,
That's like
Excuse
some
me?
fighting game levels of writing right there.
I'm like, are you implying that he invented a fake brother to give himself a quest?
Okay,
Like,
yeah.
I didn't
This
get.
sounds like the entire first like third of the series somehow
show?
crammed into
'Cause I
like
was gonna-
2 hours and taking some very
fucking-
important bits out
Yeah,
just from how it sounds.
yeah, because and then there gets to a part where like they're fighting, and he fucking tackles Alphonse, and he's punching him, but he's punching him with his real arm, so his hand is getting all fucked up, and he's like leaving blood smears on the armor, and he's like, brother, stop this! Like I can't feel pain, but you're gonna hurt yourself. Use your other arm, and he's just like fuck you, and keeps punching him in the face till his fucking knuckles turn into hamburger. And I was like, this is so fucking cool. I wish they weren't fighting for no reason. This would be so cool if I had a reason to care. So then they...
That's a good tagline for that movie right there.
It really is. That's the thing. This would be so cool if I had a reason to care.
If I remember the actual show right, that whole dynamic of Alphonse questioning who he is in the show, but it's explained better as like oh, you might be a construct that has the memories of the real Alphonse. And the real
makes
Alphonse
so
might
much
just be
more
dead.
sense. That makes so much more
Yeah.
sense than you might have false memories and he made a fake brother to help. It's so stupid. But
Yeah, you might be a weird fake clone is what the actual show presents.
that makes a lot more sense.
Not like you're an invention and there was never a brother.
Yeah, and it's like, so they meander around a bit, and the one cool guy gets killed. What's his name? Hughes, who is a very likable man. He ends up getting shot. And enter in the Big Dick G, the best character in the fucking movie, fucking Colonel Mustang. I'm ready to watch all of Brotherhood right now just for this guy, because I want to emphasize Edward and Alphonse don't do like anything in this movie. They have like nothing interesting to do. They talk a lot about alchemy, they spit out a lot of exposition, and they go from scene to scene, and that's about it. And then at the end of this movie, which by the way, I called the fucking villain literally the second he was on screen as a joke. Because in the first scene, like, this general comes out and he's like, oh, you're the Full Metal Alchemist. Come on, let's talk. And I was like, how much you want to bet that's the villain? And then he comes out literally and is like, it was me all along. And I was like, are you kidding me? And he's got this big plan about putting Philosopher's Stones in, like, weird little putty patrollers and using them to take over the world. Because they don't feel pain and they don't feel fear, but they're just as, if not more, squishy than regular people. So, you know, whatever. Mm-hmm. And like, so this part happens where they reveal like, oh, okay, it wasn't Mustang was framed for shooting Hughes. It was the dude that I thought was a lady, but is really a dude that can turn into other people. It was one of the homunculuses. And
I think Envy is the one that's very gender ambiguous.
Yes, and Envy. I thought those guys were kind of cool, even though the fucking fat guy is so fucking silly. There's a part where he chases off a bunch of soldiers, and they have...
You sent me the gift.
Yeah, they have... He's got his arms out like he's going to give him a hug, and he just waddles after them. It's so fucking silly. And like... No, those guys are actually kind of cool, though. I liked the homunculuses. They were kind of neat.
I'm glad you liked them, because they're a major part of the show.
They were very anime. I liked them a lot. And then, so basically it all comes down to like, okay, we're in the lab, and now we know, okay, it was the homunculuses who killed Hughes, and also they let out Tucker, so he's holding like Alphonse and the girl hostage because he wants to use the Philosopher's Stones, and then the general shows up, and he's like, no, I want to use the Philosopher's Stones, and it's like, okay, things are happening, that's right, we're telling a story. And the plot comes to a head, and enter in Colonel Mustang, who just starts lighting people the fuck up. He just starts shooting fire at everyone. At one point, he shoots fire at his friend and just immolates her into a fucking charred corpse. And then he's like, yeah, her freckles on her other cheek. And it was like, oh, it was Envy the whole time. And then I realized, wait a minute. So this dude has emotional stakes. He has clear goals. He has weaknesses because he gets stabbed like a dozen times and has to cauterize his wounds. And I was like, this dude was introduced like 5 minutes ago, and I care about him so much more than all the other main characters combined. This should have been a Mustang movie. I would have watched it in a heartbeat if he was the main dude.
I'm glad you like that, because there is also a movie that's a prequel to Brotherhood that they made that is legitimately just a Mustang and Hughes movie.
Fucking great. I'm down for that. I fuck with that. I'm down for more Mustang. But the rest of this movie was so fucking stupid. And then it got a really weird post-credits teaser where a little one-eyed chameleon fall out the man's face. And I was like, that's probably something. I didn't watch the anime, so I don't know. But yeah, Full Metal Alchemist. If you like the show and you want to see what would happen if real boys did it, give it a try. But other than that, there's literally no reason to watch it at all. And
It's a sterling recommendation.
yeah,
All right, that was dark.
yeah. I think James has one more.
Take us home with some
All
Totoro.
right, so
Take us
yeah,
home.
so our palate cleanser is I also watched Totoro.
My neighbor Totoro.
Totoro, I don't think it's actually the first Studio Ghibli movie I ever watched was Spirited Away. And Spirited Away is great.
That's a good
But I
first
watched
one.
it when I was like 12 or something, a long time ago at like a cousin's house.
I've
so I didn't really get
actually
the full.
I've never seen Totoro. If you could believe that.
Totoro, I will show you Totoro, but
I'm down for that.
I also the first Ghibli movie that I rewatched was also Spirited Away, and loved it. So that was a couple of years ago. I wound up watching Totoro after that, just because I was babysitting my little brother and sister one day, and I thought, hey, this looks like a very Disney-esque movie. I've seen a lot of stuff. I know what Totoro is, kind of. Let's watch it.
Yeah.
Totoro is one of my favorite fucking movies of all time.
Yeah.
Totoro, Totoro is like, if I am ever having a bad day,
pleasant
that
movie.
is such a perfect. It is like nothing bad happens in that movie. Like it meant to be like a little slice of life story in this little setting between a couple like sisters that winds up just over the course of like a fucking week that this goddamn movie takes place in. It's amazing. It tells you this beautiful, wonderful story that you feel like is going a really bad direction and then is happy in the end. Everything's happy. This movie is so goddamn happy.
It's really sweet.
And of course,
so fucking happy
because I have to talk about my boner in this little kids movie. Again,
Don't
it's
word
another.
it like that.
That's exactly how I'm wording it. That's staying in like that. It's just
Yeah, it is.
it's James's world building boner. Put that in big text on me on the thumbnail. It's another movie that just, and all of Ghibli is good for this, where it has its own little world and it manages to sink its teeth into you in like little ways that build up and just make you feel enveloped and immersed in this wonderful world and this wonderful story with all of its creatures and characters, and it's great. Like, if you have not seen My Neighbor Totoro, wait until it's a rainy day. Wait until you had a bad day at work or something. You just need something to cheer you up. Nestle in with a blanket, put on fireplace. If you don't have an actual fireplace, put on fucking crackling log on your phone and just nestle in with the lights down and watch this movie. And it will make your night. It will make you just happy.
That does sound pleasant as fuck, honestly. That might happen right after we finish recording.
Go for it. Put on some fucking hot cocoa, get like a heated blanket, and just like fall asleep to this nice, pleasant movie. This dreamland of a movie.
Yeah. No, I think everybody has those comfort watches. For me, I discovered this in high school, and it is the weirdest double feature. It makes no sense, but it is the perfect like rainy day, hard day at work. Maybe you're a little sick. Just lay in bed and have a good time. Double feature.
Hit us with it.
Is you watch The Princess Bride,
Okay.
which of course you do, and then you watch Wayne's World.
Really?
Huh.
Right? Nobody ever expects the second one, but they are two just earnest, fun movies. Just good times. Or like you could watch it as like, you could appreciate both of them as films, or you could just turn your brain off and have a good time. That is a good combo right there. is Princess Bride and Wayne's World, and I found it by complete accident.
Okay.
But it goes together. It's like pineapple on pizza. You wouldn't think it works, but it works.
It's pretty great.
Oh boy! Right. So,
do we have any closing statements? What we got coming up for March?
Did anybody have any other movies they watched in February?
No, I'm out.
Or was that all of it? All right. Well, upcoming movies in March. Looking through March looks pretty goddamn dire. I'm gonna be real. I don't know if you know this.
I have a more optimistic opinion.
We are getting multiple gnome movies in March.
And I'm excited for one of them.
Multiple gnome movies. We are getting Gnome Alone, which is... What did you say that was when you were reading over? Like, it's basically the Smurfs.
It's like the live-action Smurfs. It's like there's a gnome in a human world, except this one's all animated. I haven't seen the trailer, so I don't know if he's like actually from a different dimension or if gnomes just exist here and this girl found him.
From the gnome verse.
Yes,
in the gnome cinematic universe.
There's a strange creature here from the gnome universe.
God damn it! Speaking of terrible puns, we also have...
Just follow the blue line on the ground until you find the giant red thumbtack.
Careful, it looks pointy.
James McAvoy, Emily Blunt, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Mary J. Blige, and Johnny Depp, with original music by Elton John and Bernie Taupin.
Yeah, fucking Baron Mordo is in this movie voicing a talking gnome.
Okay, I am genuinely excited for this stupid movie. I don't know if you guys have seen Romeo and Juliet.
I was literally about to say this. Like, I have seen it. Has everybody else here seen Romeo and Juliet?
Yes.
I have seen Romeo and Juliet.
You have seen it?
I have seen it.
Okay, so I feel like this is going to play out. Okay, you know that one Family Guy joke where they're all talking about what's his name? Barry Manilow.
I guarantee you I don't know.
There's it's one of the few Family Guy jokes actually worth remembering where like they're in the bar and they see an ad for a Barry Manilow concert and they're like, oh, Barry Manilow. It's like, yeah, who fucking cares about Barry Manilow? That one was a pretty good song though. Yeah, no, that was okay. I fucking love Barry Manilow, and they all just fall apart, and then it hard cuts to them at front row at the Barry Manilow concert. That's this, but with Romeo and Juliet. Yeah. Romeo and Juliet is so fucking stupid. It should not work as well as it does. But goddamn, if it is
fun,
if it is 3 a.m. and you have a beer in your hand, you could do so much worse than watching Elton John blow millions of dollars on gnome puns. That's what the entire movie is. It's gnome puns and deep Shakespeare references.
It is. And it's just done so earnestly, as if like in the same vein of like the very beginning of this episode where we talked about Tommy Wiseau. It's like they didn't know how bad of a concept it was and they put so much heart into it, and that's what makes it so much fun.
It's Elton John being a weird old gay man who is like, what if it was Romeo and Juliet? Throw money at it until it happens. And
I love it so much, and I'm so glad that they're making a sequel for it, because that is as necessary as the first one was.
It has James McAvoy in it before he became Professor X.
I have a confession to make.
Yeah.
I am dreading the fact that this movie is going to fucking come out.
Really?
I will admit that it is quirky and fun, and you can have a great time watching this movie.
Are you gonna have to bring the siblings?
No. I you know how I watched Romeo and Juliet? You know how I always would, without fail, experience that goddamn movie? It would come on at 12 for my little siblings, and it would not stop until 9 fucking p.m. while my little siblings are watching it. If you put me in a fucking movie with that, in a room with that movie, I will go into a trance and be able to recite it word for word, and I fucking hate that. It's like, I won't even be conscious. I'll just be angry and crying and reciting the lines.
Man.
I don't want another one of those movies to exist because I don't want it to come in contact with me.
You know who I bet doesn't want this to exist either? Fucking Johnny Depp. Is this him going to movie jail for that whole Amber Heard debacle? Like, is this his penance? He's got to be Sherlock Gnomes now.
It could be, but also looking at his past movie choices, this could completely just be something that he decided to do. I feel like he's the quirkier, maybe more refined version of Nick Cage at this point in terms of movie selection.
Yeah, honestly.
Not that.
Speaking of, this is a bit of a tangent, but it's semi-related. You know who fucking picks his movies by dartboard? Apparently, fucking Michael Fassbender. He will say yes to anything. Apparently,
yeah.
Have you noticed this? How like not only is he in good movies, like he's in like X-Men and others. I'm sure Frank. He was really good in Frank, and he's good in like everything he does. But then he'll also be like, yeah, Alien Covenant, that seems like a good idea.
I mean, to be fair, that's
and he'll be the best part of it.
Like, I can understand, like...
It's a paycheck.
Yeah.
But then, like, Assassin's Creed, he's going to be Kung Fury.
Yeah, see, that seems to be... That's the first one that I'm like, eh.
Like you're Michael Fassbender. You don't need to do this. You don't need to do this to yourself. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if years from now we learn that Michael Fassbender it's like Patrick Stewart, where it's like, oh, he's this classically trained actor. He's one of the greatest actors of our generation. And they're like, Mr. Fassbender, what's your favorite TV show? And it's like how Patrick Stewart would be like, I love Beavis and Butthead. I like South Park. The bit with the talking poo, it's hilarious. And it's like he'll say yes to anything that makes him laugh. And that's why Patrick Stewart is on American Dad, because he's like, I think a Family Guy is very funny, so I'll be Bullock. And I feel like we're gonna learn that's the same thing with Michael Fassbender. He's like a really refined, brilliant man, but he just has like really goofy tastes and shit that makes him laugh.
I can understand that. Also, this is absolutely a sidebar of the sidebar. But
yeah.
I think that they might, like, the only way that I would accept a Kung Fury movie happening is if they handed it over to the people who made Turbo.
Oh, Turbo Kid?
Yeah, Turbo Kid, that was it, Turbo Kid.
Yeah. No, I like to describe Turbo Kid as like Kung Fury if Kung Fury wasn't a big pile of shit. I fucking hate Kung Fury so much. Mad props for them making something that looks that stylish on an entirely crowdfunded budget. But boy, oh boy, was there nothing going on under the hood with that one. It was, let's steal a bunch of jokes from Danger 5, and also dinosaurs are inherently funny. And it's going to be the 80s, even though all the stuff we're taking from like Streets of Rage and Mortal Kombat came out in the 90s. It is... Honestly, Kung Fury is an entire podcast on its own. But yeah, we have...
A Ready Player One short with the numbers filed off for all the products that they steal from.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. In addition to bring us back home, next month, not only do we have the 2 gnome movies, we also have Ready Player One.
Can you find the fun egg?
We have Ready Player One coming out. Wouldn't say I'm anticipating it. I'm anticipating the half in the bag review. I really can't wait to see what the Red Letter Media guys thought of it. But no, I think
the good movie.
Yeah, the good one. And oh shit, yeah, to send us home. Now that I think about it, I really should have.
Palate cleanser.
I gave Ready Player One 2 sound effects on here. I really should have given a spot on the soundboard too. This is Isle of Dogs by Wes Anderson, about a bunch of what is it even about? It's about a bunch of dogs that have like a canine flu that hits Japan, so they end up shipping all the dogs to like a garbage island, and then a kid goes to the island to get his dog back. That's what it is?
Yes.
Yeah. It looks fantastic. I have not seen nearly as much Wes Anderson as I should have by this point. I feel like I need to be in the very proper mood to watch Wes Anderson.
That's true, but I've also never seen a film by him that I didn't enjoy.
Yeah. I remember, and this is the same like Ready Player One, like I can't believe that was me thing. But I remember watching Fantastic Mr. Fox when I was younger, and I was like, this isn't very funny. And it was like, why isn't this more like the DreamWorks movies, where they do the face and play the pop song?
School me, no.
Yeah, and now I get older, and I'm like, oh, Fantastic Mr. Fox is like a beautiful work of art just from a visual standpoint, not even considering everything else about it. And I was
also,
a fucking
there's
fool.
humor. It's just quiet, and like you can look at that and be like, "Oh, when I was 15, I was just too stupid. I get it now."
When you're absorbing a bunch of dinosaur chicken nuggets and like Shark Tale, surprise! Fantastic Mr. Fox is gonna hit your palate in the wrong way. It's like when you eat nothing but McDonald's and then you try it. It's like that one My Strange Addiction with the lady who only eats cheesy potatoes. Have you guys seen that?
No.
Oh my god, I love that unison no, by the way. No, look this shit up when you can. It is a wonderful time. It's this big lady.
That's such a
and she's
very
like,
specific, like, apt name for the show, but like that's so weirdly
My Strange Addiction. She's like one time when I was a kid, I tried to eat something that wasn't cheesy potatoes, and I throw it up.
Why are you using your Bill Clinton impression for her?
Because that's what she sounds like. She sounds like Bill Clinton.
Okay.
Yeah. And she's like, "Oh, I tried to eat not cheesy potatoes, but I throw it up." And it's like they literally like they bring her out and they're like, "We've got something shocking to show you. Bring it in." And they bring in a fucking like small dump truck that is full of potatoes, and they're like, "This is the amount of potatoes you eat in half a year." And she's like, "Oh my god, I'm a monster!" And they try to wean her off. That's where that clip comes from, where it's like me. It's like me when I. Oh, it's brilliant. It's a beautiful raw look at humanity at its worst.
Mark, I have a challenge for you.
Yeah.
I want you to find a segue to close us out here from that.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna find it. But it's got that clip, you know, that meme that goes around where it's like New Year's resolution, like I'm gonna try and eat healthy, and it's like also me, and it's the clip of her like it's like, okay, this is called broccoli, try some of it. She like sniffs it and goes, ugh! And she starts like dry heaving and coughing into a handkerchief, and then she starts crying.
I've never seen this.
You haven't seen the second we're done here, pull up YouTube and just search My Strange Addiction cheesy potatoes. Okay. It is a fucking, it's like a John Waters film. It is a raw look at untamed humanity. It belongs in a museum.
Speaking of untamed, we're all very excited about Isle of Dogs.
Isle of Dogs, yeah.
Yes, Isle of Dogs.
Also, wait, can we just close this out by you reiterating the pun that neither of us saw? That like
it struck me
brought
today.
My head to my hands when I realized how obvious it was.
Isle of Dogs is a pun. It is the title of the movie is Isle of Dogs. I love dogs. I love dogs. I love dogs. Just let it simmer.
I'm so mad at myself for not getting that.
Just let it sizzle. Right? Good time.
Good time.
You know what else has been a good time? This episode of Best Boys.
There he is.
Hey.
Yeah. I told you. I had a.
Do we have a sign off? Do we have to make that up on the spot right now?
We'll figure it out as we go. Let's try and kill this in like the next 2 minutes so we could get a nice round number. I had a wonderful time. Thank you both for coming on. Let's wrap this up with some final plugs. Is there anything or anyone you want to plug? If you want to plug yourself, let's go down the line. Where can the people reach you at?
Chris, go ahead.
Yeah.
You can reach me on Twitter below. It's my name with an underscore, and my last name's hyphenated or shortened.
What is that? They don't know.
You can at Chris_Costi.
There you go.
You can go to my website, which is chrismcostello.com.
Ooh.
You can, I guess, follow me on Tumblr. There's no point for that. There's no art there. There's nothing. There's
nothing but trash here.
Exactly. Yeah, and I guess maybe some things in the future.
Cool.
Hey,
I'll let you know.
Let's keep the mystery going.
What about you, James? Because I know you got stuff.
Mystery box.
Yes. So I do YouTube stuff at Jars of Jams on YouTube. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram and Vero, where the fuck the new thing is, and Twitter. And just look up Jars of Jams. You will likely find me. This week coming up, I've got a couple episodes of my Civ playthrough. We're playing Shaka Zulu and being very, very mean to our neighbors. Genocide is following. We do some very bad things.
Hey.
People die. I've got a couple other videos in the works. I am streaming sporadically. I'm trying to get a schedule for that, but I need people to actually show up and watch my streams first. So give me an excuse to have a schedule. Come and watch my streams on Twitch.tv.
We show up sometimes, me and Mark.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a great time. If you like these people, you will like my streams. Come watch them. Please give me money. I'm starving.
Mark
Lovely
more than me,
streams.
don't worry.
Lovely streams and creamy dreams. Give the boy some bits. And if you want to find my stuff, of course, you can check out my blog at whiteguywithnetflix.blogspot.com. You can follow me on Twitter. I have an official Twitter for this type of stuff rather than my personal one. You can follow me on Twitter at @TheJurassicMark. You can also find me on YouTube on Jurassic Mark. This is where these podcasts are going to be uploaded. So good job on finding that. I'm also on Twitch at Jurassic Mark Plays. I haven't been streaming a whole lot. I don't really adhere to a schedule, but it's fun to do. I've been playing a lot of TF2 lately, and I want to start a playthrough of the Telltale Batman game because I've heard good things about that.
Nice.
And I have that season 1 of that, and I've been waiting for the right time to start that, but I think that's going to happen soon. So definitely check in there. Yeah, this has been Best Boys, a podcast about movies. I would say a rousing success.
Absolutely.
A rousing success from every angle. If you want more, hit the subscribe button, give us a like, do all of that goofy YouTube shit, because this is the best game in town until the adpocalypse eats them up like the void that it is.
All right.
I shall see you all. I'll see you all next time. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, friends.